Yeah, I'm gonna
I
go
need to go
because
eat shit
I'm knackered.
and pee. That was amazing, though, boys.
Eat shit and pee.
Eat shit and pee.
You might want to rephrase.
No.
I'm gonna go eat shit and.
What happens when it comes to it? In the thing.
Oh, maybe they did. So in the back, there isn't
A light brown jacket.
cool story.
We're not the first. We definitely won't be the last. We'd like to welcome you. Another conspiracy.
Quarter past eight.
Okay.
So
fuck's sake. Fucking hell. I'm losing my mind.
is he wearing pajamas?
I think so. Yeah.
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 When it comes back in.
The Twitter stuff is like, so Jane Doe, she was 14 when it all happened, and he got her to squat on his face while tweaking his nipples.
Here we go.
Ugh, what a creature.
Sorry, boys. I found a new nectar of the gods. You ever seen this?
Oh my
Oak
God.
coffee?
Is it nectar of the gods, or is it a heart attack waiting to happen?
Oh man, there's no sugar in it. It's just caffeine. It's just literally the Coke flavoring.
Oh, brilliant.
and the coffee. Like it's not sugar and coffee.
It's just coffee. Do you need to piss like every 30 seconds now though?
No, I've just that second gone.
If I have caffeine now, I just need to go to the toilet.
Oh
Go
no,
to the toilet all the time.
Yeah, I do know that if I drink, I've noticed that if I drink coffee, I piss more. I know. Yeah, I've noticed that in actual fact.
Yeah.
Is that
I
us getting older?
usually notice my so we went to Universal Studios last week, and have you seen the TikTok of them doing that drink with the shark glove, and then they pour that red stuff in the drink?
No,
It's called Shark Attack.
Yeah.
But
okay.
they're not allowed to call it Shark Attack anymore because there's been loads of shark attacks in Florida, so they have to they called it something else.
Crocodile attack.
But it's a blue
That's the drink's fault.
it's a blue drink, and then this guy puts the shark glove on and goes like this, and then pours like Kakura or something. I don't know, whatever, some fucking stupid liqueur. I had about 3 sips of it, and I was like, I gave it to my girlfriend. And I was like, I can't drink that. And then my chest just started getting really tight, started sweating profusely.
Oh my God, are you allergic to it?
And they were like, oh, it's probably like high fructose syrup. I was like, oh yeah, that'll be it.
Yeah, it'll be the sugar that your
We don't
body
have that
hasn't
here, do we?
fucking enjoyed.
We don't
No,
get
we're not allowed.
We
banned.
do. Because we found out that it's actually, we do have it, but they just put it under the name of dextrose.
Oh, right,
So
okay.
in America, if you look on a can, it'll say high fructose corn syrup, because like with ingredients,
Yeah.
they give you them from the most ingredients to the least ingredients.
Yeah,
In America, the first thing is high fructose corn syrup, and then it's all the other shit.
yeah.
In England, it's usually loads of other stuff. But we noticed that in America, it says high fructose corn syrup, and then it says fructose corn syrup brackets dextrose.
Right.
So
yeah.
we maybe don't have high fructose corn syrup, but we definitely have corn syrup.
Yeah.
Every day's a school day.
But I really do enjoy drinking them, though, boys. They're really nice.
I drink
Good.
my energy drink of choice is Nocco, the blood orange or limon. They're the
I've
best
never
ones.
heard of what is
It's
it?
Nocco, Nocco. Shout out Nocco.
Nocco. Sponsor us.
My energy drink of choice is water, because if I drink anything else, I'll never sleep.
Yeah, I've got my jug of water though. That was what I went out to get. I got my lump here. You know,
Thanks.
we are healthy, and I'm getting high at the same time.
Nice.
Whoa.
I've got to drive, so I can't.
And I had a chocolate orange stout earlier on, but I said I will not be getting pissed, because we all know how that goes.
Really well.
Yeah,
It will be a very long JFK episode.
For our listeners, they will love that. So, well, we'll start, shall we?
we shall.
What was I going to say? Yeah, we should start.
We should do. Really. There we go. One for the social medias.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to our Christmas present to you. Another episode of Not Another Conspiracy Podcast.
I was going to say, you've had to drag us out to get this.
Yeah, it's been a
It's
long,
been a busy one.
6 months of research has gone into this.
It's been 6 months. No, it hasn't been 6 months. has it?
Something like that.
Don't say that.
No,
No,
Titanic.
man.
Where was Titanic? August, I think.
I believe so. Yes,
September.
because it was warm outside still.
It was. It was still
Yeah.
scary outside though.
Yeah.
I've got. So before we start, let me introduce Dean Salter in Michigan.
Hello. Hiya.
He's down. On my
I'm somewhere. I'm somewhere.
There.
I'm in one of these fourth dimension voids
He's just there.
right now. Thanks, Ben. Oh, cheers, mate. Here we are.
Right, we'll do that again.
JJ, sorry, I did some. And the mime.
So funny.
And in York, we have JJ Jackson.
Yeah.
What? All right. And in
Oh,
Southend
mate.
on Sea, we have Mr. Ben Mills.
We love to see it in his own little fourth dimensional box thing.
Yes.
Are you between one fern? Is this a spin-off episode of the
Can
famous
guarantee that
Zach
tree is plastic.
Galifianakis?
We
Oh,
went
of course
to
it is.
IKEA today. We had to get some props for a shoot we're doing on Tuesday here, and we needed some props of fake flowers. So now the office we've got fake flowers everywhere, fake trees, fake flowers. It's brilliant. It's really brightened the place up though.
Good.
But before we get into this, anyone who listened to the Cryptid Ramblers podcast a couple of weeks ago will know that this studio was haunted. That I'm sitting in right now.
Yeah, I saw that clip.
So there was a video. The video cut out. So there was recording it, and none of it came through. But the audio did record.
Yeah.
And there was a knocking. But my mum and our cleaner came and they shooed the spirits away. They sent him off him and 2 children into the light.
Oh,
God,
But
that's awful.
I'm still too scared to be on my own. So Baz is in the other room finishing off some edits.
Oh, bless him.
20 past 8. But he'll probably sneak
Baz,
off
can you
anyway.
wait up for me, please? Don't go without me.
Yeah, he'll probably sneak off anyway. But
Not want to spoil the fun, but could it have possibly just been a technical glitch?
it was on this table. We've got the audio. They heard and felt a knock. The story. I
Wow.
would get Baz to come tell you the story, but he's told it so many times it gives him the creeps.
Or
I
he's
mean,
just
I
fed
remember
up.
when one of my disk drives broke once, and it sounded like there was knocking, but it was just the disc like spinning inside the thing with plastic flying everywhere. Yeah.
When
Well,
was the last time you bought a computer with a disk drive in it?
Yeah. Do you know what's funny though? I actually the
Fair
other
point.
day I tried to install one of the old games that I've got in one of the CDs that I brought over, and I brought it back upstairs to my room, and I just looked at my tower with the disc in my hand, and I was like, I was like,
no
this
disc
one
drive.
that I've bought, I don't actually have a disc drive.
Do
Do you know what makes me laugh? That they still, with monitors, they still give you the CD to install the monitor.
Yeah.
Who the
Yeah.
fuck needs that?
Who ever did
And it's
that?
always like one of them weird little CDs that can't go in a disc drive anyway. It just falls
Yeah.
straight through the tray.
For a start, though, the people that install monitor drivers through the CD are probably the same people that buy WinRAR or WinZip.
They're probably the same people who have to burn their hard drives because it's full of child pornography.
Hey, there we go. How many minutes
Yeah.
are we? How many minutes? How many minutes?
He didn't say,
Instantly
he didn't say the,
banned.
he didn't say the word, did he? He didn't say
Okay. He didn't. Right, okay. I did, but
the word is
but
not.
still, well done, JJ. Great segue.
Yes.
Somehow we will
Well,
find a
We've got to get
non-stroke.
people to remember who we are. They're like,
Yeah,
who are these
yeah,
fucking
exactly.
idiots?
Oh, that's why they're on my follow list on Spotify.
Yes.
Oh, the
guys that-
hashtag child pornography, yes.
Hashtag nonce.
So, as well, this is one of our followers and a friend of mine from back home as well, Holly. You're welcome finally for an episode, because all I've got is messages just. So when are you recording again? So when's the next episode, Dean?
Yeah.
Are you guys actually doing anything? Are you alive?
Yeah, there's been a few people going that they've started listening back to the old episodes just to try and.
Wow.
It's been long enough
people
now
like
that they can
us.
start
What?
again and come back
Don't do
round.
that. Just don't do that.
But now we've given so this is a big week for our following or our fan bases. They've had merch, official
No.
merch,
And
had-
and an episode.
and an episode.
Like-
And this episode isn't just to sell merch, but you should go to buythatmerch.com and buy some merch, because then we can afford to do more episodes more regularly.
I
Because
love it.
that is why we haven't been able to do as many episodes, because of the
we're out begging.
We're out begging. Yeah, we were working. We were working our fingers to the bone.
We're doing a live busking podcast. We're just sat on the street talking about shit.
Yeah, that's like money.
Basically, like crazy people do.
Yeah,
We
sounds
are.
a lot like crazy people.
Quite literally.
Here's a child molester, you know.
Another one. Hey.
Just pointing out randoms in the street. He looks like a nonce.
He looks like the third.
There it is.
He looks like the Duke of Wimborne.
Nonce.
Wimborne.
Nonce.
That one Wimbledon one we don't want to remember. But anyway, today's episode.
It's a big one.
I can't believe we haven't really dove into this like any earlier than what we are doing at the moment, but we are going to be looking at the assassination.
The first conspiracy.
The conspiracy.
The conspiracy. Like,
Yeah.
It probably started a lot of other conspiracies as well.
Oh, of course.
It was all kicking off then, wasn't it?
Well, this is when it became a thing. This is when conspiracy became a thing and people started questioning things.
Isn't it when it was coined as well, the term?
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Leading into the Cold War.
yes. Well, leading out of the Cold War and into Vietnam, right?
Well, it wouldn't surprise me as well if it also led through the Warren Commission itself, like whether the terminology was created through that.
Well, that we can get into this a bit more later on, but you know, the death of JFK, and actually, this is a good way to start. Actually, the death of JFK did a lot of things. So, and I was having this conversation actually with my friend in the pub because that's when conversations happen at the moment, and
all good conversations.
Has any of you guys seen that What If series of the Marvel What If series?
No, I haven't, but I
know
it's
the premise.
on my list.
Right,
Yeah,
so
I know. Yeah, I understand the kind of parallel dimensions.
There's a Doctor Strange one where he tries to reverse the death of the woman that he loves, and he can't. Like, no matter how many different ways he looks at it, no matter how many different universes he goes to or tries to do different things, he can't do anything. And then he finally gets to one of the Time Lords who explains to him that there are certain moments in time that if that have to happen,
Yes,
if they don't happen, then the world will be so different that
unstable. Yeah,
it would never happen. This is how time has to travel. This is one of those
key
moments.
events.
The key event, exactly. It's a key event, and this is what I think JFK assassination is. I think this is something that had to happen for us to be where we are now. If JFK isn't assassinated, I don't think punk rock happens. I don't think the civil rights the civil rights movement doesn't happen the way it ended up happening. You know, you don't get the angst, you don't get the
political unsettling, social unsettling.
Yeah, there's people aren't questioning anything. People don't need to push back because it kind of goes the right way.
Right, of course. Yeah, everything's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. If JFK is alive, they don't go to Vietnam. The Vietnam War doesn't escalate to what happened, and so you don't get CCR, you don't get any of the music, you don't get that kind of shit. You don't get the music. You don't get the films, you don't get Full Metal Jacket. You don't get what's the one with the Francis Ford Coppola one? Apocalypse
JFK.
Now. You don't get Apocalypse Now. You don't get the 2000
Tropic Thunder.
Yeah,
you don't get Tropic Thunder.
Yeah, exactly.
Les Grossman just accepts every phone call and gets fisted no matter what instead of doing the fisting.
The Rolling Stones never release a song because none of their music fits anything apart from Apocalyptic Now.
It's interesting
now.
It's interesting that you say that though, Ben, because that's also the premise of the television show from Stephen King's book, 22-11-63, where the character James Franco. Do you guys aware of that book at all? No. I believe it's either 22-11-63 or 11-22-63. It was a book that and a TV show that was created where James Franco plays the protagonist. A guy becomes friends with a restaurant owner who has spent his entire life up until this moment going back in time in a cupboard in his diner and trying to rectify the assassination of John F. Kennedy. I don't want to spoil it too much because the TV show is phenomenal in itself, but it goes along with the thought of there are points in history that no matter how much you try to change them, if you do, catastrophic things happen, but time forces itself against you to continue that timeline.
Yeah.
And it's funny that you do say that opinion exists. And I think that opinion even existed before books and TV shows like this was ever was ever a conception. So it's like it's almost like people accept that it needed to happen also. Or is it the spookiness of the conspiracy that it will never, ever, ever be solved because it's an event in history that isn't needed to be solved? It's really intriguing, really intriguing and scary.
Yeah, and I genuinely think that this is one of those things that, although it happening wasn't ideal at the time, and we got some bad people in power, like the CIA. Just think the CIA, he was going to dismantle the CIA. His words were, he's going to turn the CIA into confetti. Like he'd been lowering their budget by 10% year on year, and he was looking to get rid of it and dismantle it. And then obviously that again, it comes into like another reason why maybe it wasn't a lone nut who
other connections.
Yeah, it wasn't a lone nut.
So what's going to be interesting with this episode as well is because, like you guys have mentioned, and probably with the 9/11 one too, that this is the conspiracy, and we're probably hitting an audience that's probably younger than us as well. And it would interest me to know how many people actually are aware of the Kennedy assassination, because I've spoken to a few people that I've worked with here in the past in America, and even when it comes to 9/11, they're in their early 20s and stuff. They barely know the ins and outs of like 9/11. So it would interest me how many people that are listening to this do in fact have no idea about the whole Kennedy situation and how it has so many links across so many different characters and so many different possibilities. It's bananas. It's absolutely bananas.
There's so many things that happen. The coincidences, a coincidence is the word that I think we'll use quite a lot in this.
Yeah.
Coincidence. Is it a coincidence? I think if you're watching on YouTube, you're going to see a lot of air quotes.
Air quotes with fingers.
Air quotes to this. It's a really strange one because because I've looked mainly my research has been on Oswald,
yes,
Lee Oswald, or Lee Harvey Oswald as they call him, Lee Oswald, who is meant to be this lone nut.
Oh, Aussie,
yeah. That's where most
not the fork-fingered bad guy from Batman, just in case anyone was thinking of Oswald Cobblepot.
Yes.
So
not
him.
It's not him.
Would you guys be fine with me?
That was me spinning an umbrella, by the way.
Phenomenal performance, by the way. Like one of the best comic character performances ever.
Yeah,
I had DeVito.
To see what Colin Farrell does with the Penguin as well.
And how putrid that's going to look.
Yeah,
which I imagine it probably will.
Right.
Anyway, shall I intro us and the listeners into the situation?
Yeah. Intro, and we will butt in and rudely interrupt when we know something.
Wouldn't be an episode if it wasn't that way.
Won't be for a while then.
Yeah.
Okay. On the 22nd of November, 1963, in
wrong.
That's not. No. I know. I got rumbled. On the 22nd. You just sound like I'm just expecting some like cartoon villain with a massive top hat and a big collar. Wrong. With your calendar projections there. Anyway, on the 22nd of November 1963, in Dallas, Texas, President John Fitzgerald Kennedy was brutally murdered by a lone assassin known as Lee Harvey Oswald. Hundreds of people lined the streets of Dealey Plaza to catch a glimpse of the president along with his wife, Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis. On their efforts to raise Democratic Party funds and campaign for re-election in the coming year.
It's an interesting tidbit. This was the first of Jackie O's public
Jackie O.
This is the first of Jackie O's public appearances. This tour of Texas was her first
Ever.
public appearance once he was president.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah, this is
Okay.
This is some of the insights you'll get from me today.
Little did they know that in no less than 20 seconds, they were about to witness one of the most shocking moments of human history. During these 20 seconds, 3 shots would ring out through Dealey Plaza, 2 of which would strike President Kennedy, resulting in his death, and along with it, quite possibly the greatest conspiracy theory of all time. Did Lee Harvey Oswald take those shots from the window on the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository building? Or were there other people involved within JFK's own government?
I'm a patsy! I'm a patsy!
Or was it actually Dave Lister and the crew left of the Red Dwarf?
Yeah,
no one ever talks about that possibility.
Well, they filmed it, so they were
And
on
it
the
happened.
grassy knoll. He killed himself. JFK killed himself on the grassy knoll.
Before we go before we go into the official story, that's one of like the best sort of like ways to continue. And it's funny you talking about moments in history that will never be solved and have to happen and continue. Yep. And how they end up getting Kennedy to kill himself. so no poor, all the poor sods trying to work it out never will.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
I mean, yeah, Grant Naylor, all those guys. That was an amazing bit of TV. They went and did that. But I mean, it's not as far fetched as some of the theories that are out there.
No, not at all. I with parallel dimensions and shit, I would expect Red Dwarf to come back.
There was did you know there's been over 2,000, before we get into this, like the actual conspiracy, there's been over 2,000 books written about the JFK assassination.
What?
A lot of money made.
What?
A lot, and each one has their own twist on a theory. So So there's over 2,000 different possible theories for what happened.
And I'll tell you what, I am not surprised by that, considering after the event occurred, there were conspiracy theories beginning already, and that was, excuse me, that was why obviously the Warren Commission was set up.
Yeah.
To disprove. Excuse me. And even now, one of the conspiracy theories we're going to be getting into is from a book called Mortal Error, which, through evidence that was only surfaced, a few decades ago, another, incredibly plausible theory comes to the surface. And it's like, how many decades?
Yeah. Just going on to the 2,000 books thing. Did you guys, whenever you were doing work and you were like, fuck, I really need to do this essay or whatever for college or school, and you were like, I know what I'll do. I'll just change certain sentences. So you'll just scroll down and be like, I'll just change that word. And you highlight it and just change it. So it was basically exactly the same essay, but you just changed 20 words on a page.
Yeah.
I almost wonder what the guy who wrote the 2,000th book was like. Fucking hell, everyone's really sort of written everything here. What shall I do? And it's almost I'll just add a little bit in that section there just because I feel like they didn't quite nail it in 1999.
Yeah, it's just as if looking at it as if to say anti-Castro communist.
Yeah, let's just say
Hillary Clinton's aunt.
Yeah, so bad.
There's a book that I was recommended. I didn't get to read it, but I just want to shout it out because it's on my Kindle now, ready to be read. But Rush to Judgment is one of the main ones that I think a lot of what the research that I've done has come from this book, but not directly through reading it, but listening to people talk about this book.
Rush to
Judgment. It's a critique of the Warren Commission.
Okay.
And I listened to a whole thing about how they rushed it because they basically JBL or JLB.
Lyndon B. Johnson, LBJ.
That's it. Some fucking knobhead. Who apparently had a massive cock. Yeah. No, he had a massive cock apparently. Like a hog. And I don't know how I know that, but it definitely came up in my research.
Is that where baby's almond apple was coined as well?
Yeah. Johnson. Yeah. I don't know how I got that from my research, but I definitely found that out. I also
Look at
found
that Johnson. Boom.
So-
there you go.
You know, Kennedy was he was a bit of a molest. He loved to
Oh,
do
he
a-
liked to
he lo-
molest.
and liked to molest, but like he but not molest because he was the president, so he could just shag people, and they were like, oh yeah, I'll shag the president. Marilyn
Right.
Monroe, hats off to him.
You
for that
look
one.
really dashing in that
Yeah,
bra,
yeah,
my love.
that's a good one. I like that. That's a good impression. I can't do his. But yeah, so he had terrible back pain. So he was on drugs, lots of drugs, but he also was a sex addict. But he was convinced that the only way he could relieve the pain from his back was to molest, to have sex,
Molest.
to bust a nut. Yeah.
In really famous celebrities.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
I'd be a sex addict as
but
well
he-
if Marilyn Monroe threw herself at me.
Oh yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
There's another conspiracy theory.
Oh,
Hey,
yeah.
one day.
Oh,
Yeah, I think that'd be interesting.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Oh, no.
He, do you know? But he was obviously. This is getting a bit off of it, but that's Rusted Judgment was about how old Big Cock wanted to rush this through so he could. So, quote. This is a quote. Get on with his presidency because
Yes.
obviously he wanted people to just forget about JFK and get on with what he was doing. But yeah, so he rushed it through. The Warren Commission was a clusterfuck.
Well, it was commonly known that it was concluded with like partial evidence of like particular leads.
Well, yeah, they basically on sometime in June of the following year, LBJ or whatever his name was, decided that that's it. You got 13 days. You got 13 days to finish your investigation, and then I want the report written by September.
Yeah, it's
But
just
there
bananas.
was only 6. I think there was like something like 8 people in the commission.
Yeah,
doing any
yeah,
work.
and 6 of them were part of the FBI or like former FBI agents. Just coincidentally.
And they were all split up. So 2 people would be on the buildings. 2 people were on Harvey Oswald. 2 people were
Right, yeah.
any connections with other people
Outside operatives and whatnot, yeah.
Yeah, so they were all separated, and they were all doing their own research. And then when the research came to written, because there's some senators involved in it, they didn't like what someone had written, so they changed it. And like,
That's it, yeah. And that had been, only recently in 1997, I think someone went back and they changed something in the Warren Commission about like the autopsy or something along those lines. And it was like, oh no, it was just a correction of language that I was using. It wasn't anything that, oh shit, that's surfacing. I need to change that. But anyway, we'll eventually get into that. But Lee, Ben, you say you know a fair amount on Lee Harvey Oswald, but what we're what we're going to do is with the notes we've provided a little bit of information of both Kennedy and Oswald for the listener, so you can kind of get an idea of what person they were before we get into the conspiracies, where it might talk about right this, left that, anti this, and then you'll have something to connect that information to. So beginning with JFK, he was born John Fitzgerald Kennedy on May 29th, 1917. He is the second of a total of 9 children born from his parents. 9 kids.
Sounds like his dad was a sex addict as well.
Do you know what I mean?
Runs in the family,
Jesus
mate.
Christ.
Yeah. Family.
Or just wasn't a fan of wearing a Johnny.
Well, they're Catholics. They were Catholics.
Oh, of
wow.
course they were.
Don't believe in that then, do they?
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, the Kennedy family were rather prominent across American politics, public service, entertainment, and business. He graduated from Harvard University in 1940 before joining the US Navy Reserve the following year. In World War II, he commanded a series of PT boats in the Pacific Theater and earned the Navy and Marine Corps Medal for his service and war heroism. Kennedy represented a working-class Boston district in the U.S. House of Representatives from 1947 to 1953. He was subsequently elected to the U.S. Senate and served as the junior senator for Massachusetts from 1953 to 1960, and he then became the 35th president, narrowly beating Republican Richard Nixon. Kennedy's humor, charm, and youth, in addition to his father's money and contacts, were great assets in the campaign to his presidency. So he was kind of born with a bit of a silver spoon in his mouth already.
He had money.
They all are, aren't they?
Right, but was
wanna be
as Ben mentioned, first Catholic, young, which was unnatural back then. I believed it was kind of what we're
is now,
screaming
really,
out for here in
apart from
here in
Obama.
America now. Apart from Obama, yeah.
Yeah, Ubermar, Bayrak Ubermar. I've thrown myself off by saying that.
And that's the end of the podcast. Right. It's been crazy.
No, yeah, so that was one of the main worries that people had when he became president, was that he had a boss. The president's not meant to have a boss, but he had a boss who was the Pope. And that was the main issue of him being a Catholic. Yeah, that was what people...
They don't touch children like they all say.
Oh, yeah, that's the thing.
Kennedy's administration included high tensions with communist states in the Cold War. As a result, he increased the number of American military advisors in South Vietnam. In 1961, Kennedy authorized an attempt to overthrow the Cuban government with the famously failed invasion attempt known as the Bay of Pigs. Its failure led to major shifts in international relations between Cuba, the United States, and the Soviet Union.
So
not at all good. Sorry, go on, Ben.
So on this one, so the Bay of Pigs, so he authorized air support for the Bay of Pigs.
Yes.
But when they started blowing up things more than they were allowed to, when the CIA got a little bit too overzealous. Carried away, overzealous with their invasion. He pulled out because he was like, no, this looks like we're invading Cuba. I'm out.
Yeah.
Call off the dogs. So it failed. And lots of the CIA's like heads rolled in the CIA. People were sacked.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was he made a swift enemy of the CIA.
Yeah, a swift, very, very, very quickly. And as I stated, the failure of it also caused international relations between Cuba, the United States, and the Soviet Union to fall even more. After this, Operation Mongoose was given the go-ahead. This one was interesting, though. This operation consisted of programs of covert action, including sabotage, psychological warfare, intelligence collection, and the creation of an internal revolution against the communist government. This in itself contained Operation Mongoose was like a cocktail of any attempt to get Castro either taken out of government or even attempt to assassinate Castro. There was at one point they were trying to use imagery they were trying to doctor images of Castro mixing with a bunch of strippers and eating like a huge meal in front of him and like drinking wine and stuff. And then their plan was to take this picture and drop it all over Cuba with, I think the words were, I eat better because I say so, or something along those lines. It was going to that length that they were trying to doctor images of Castro.
Yeah.
But back then they didn't have Photoshop, did they? So it was like almost just like his head was loads bigger on the body.
Right.
And really crude. It was like on sideways with a light source coming this way.
That's like in the 60s. It's crazy.
Yeah, it was actually a really good Photoshop. Which fuck knows how they did it back then. I'm guessing scissors and sellotape, but
you can see the image. Did you?
Yeah, it's. I saw it on a thingy documentary. I'm trying to find it.
I never realised it was. Oh, I can't even. But then
there was so many doctored images of Castro.
Yeah.
But
there were some really crude ones. I'm trying to find them now.
Wow. Okay. So there were many.
But yeah,
sorry,
Ben,
go ahead.
So I need to find this. I wrote this down, but I can't find it where I wrote it. Castro assassination attempts. Right.
I've got the. Go on. Well, no, I've not got the number because there was too many. So what I'll do, I'll finish this sentence. Right, I'll finish this sentence with the two that stood out to me, and then we'll go through the list.
I'll just tell you the numbers. Yeah.
Oh God.
So there were many scenarios concocted to which the assassination of Fidel Castro was the goal. From being given a pill at his favourite restaurant, doctored images of Castro enjoying lavish food, wine, and prostitutes, to contaminating a diving suit and a breathing apparatus with a poisonous fungus. Sorry.
He's gone. He's absolutely gone. America.
That is so good. That's one of the best games I've ever seen.
Oh, I'm gonna put it in there.
Brilliant.
I'm putting it in the group.
Yeah,
I'll put it
sorry.
in Discord. Right, listeners.
Oh
This
my
is
God.
this is the time where you now go to Discord
Yeah.
and you go to the newly created JFK channel, and then you look at the first image. If you've already seen this image, you know what
That's a great Photoshop.
you now know why we're laughing. You've caught up. If you've seen the picture before you've listened to the episode, then you've caught up. If you haven't seen the picture, go to Discord now.
Oh, that's too funny. Oh, that's too funny. That's too good. Anyway, that just no. I thought
Sorry.
I thought that the CIA's attempt at contaminating a diving suit and its breathing apparatus with a poison fungus was like a huge length. But wow, that I never knew that they would have gotten that band involved. Anyway, I won't give it away.
How do you spell assassination? ASSASINAATION.
I think there's 2 S's again in that. So as a result of all the failed attempts on Castro's life, JFK then rejected Operation Northwoods. If you guys listening have listened to our past episode, you'll know that we spoke about Operation Northwoods in the 9/11 episode. Operation Northwoods was a plan set up by the Department of Defense to stage a false flag attack on US civilians. A mirror image of 9/11.
I just looked at the picture again.
I just looked at it again. It's like a real life Medusa. If you look
This one, I've seen that one. It's not as good.
if you look at it, you can't not laugh. Fuck.
Oh God.
I've got to stop.
Anyway,
I'm having a brain aneurysm. Hold on.
Right. So, I think...
Sorry. Yes. I'll finish what I was saying though.
Right.
Operation Northwoods being that of a mirror image of 9/11, and it was used. It was going to be used as a way to justify going to war with Cuba. With a handful of failed operations already under Kennedy's mantle, it was most likely a wise choice not to go ahead with this disgusting plan. However, his administration continued to plan for an invasion of Cuba in the summer of 1962. He also, signing off, he also signed the first nuclear weapons treaty in October 1963, which also is something that the military-industrial complex that made up quite a lot of his government would not be happy about.
No. Did you know, actually, before we get into the funny number, that the attempts on Castro's life, it's actually 638, failed, all of them. Cancer won.
Every single one.
Yeah, cancer beat him in the end. So,
but go on, how many in total?
638. That is so many.
It's probably all these assassination attempts were probably made by civilians because he was shagging all their wives.
Like,
Have
you heard the rumor that he might be Trudeau's dad? You know, the Canadian president.
Castro.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, that's a conspiracy theory. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but it is Trudeau, isn't it?
Justin Trudeau, yeah.
Yeah. So there's pictures of like him with his mum, and there's like lots and lots of correlations between, and he looks a lot like him. Anyway,
that's amazing. So Dwight D. Eisenhower tried to kill him 38 times. John F. Kennedy, this is what under Dwight D. Eisenhower's presidency, it was 38 times. Under Kennedy's, it was 42. Under Johnson's, it was 72. Under Nixon, it was 184. Jimmy Carter, 64. Ronald Reagan tried to kill him 197 times. George H.W. Bush tried to get him 16 times. And Clinton tried to get him 21 times.
That is absolutely bananas.
I don't think they actually wanted to kill him.
No, I don't think they did.
Because
they didn't try very hard, did they?
I can't imagine he was that smart. One of them was that he tried to, so they tried an exploding cigar,
I heard about that one. Yeah, I heard about that one.
Yeah.
Well, like a fucking Looney Tunes.
Yeah. Exploding guitar and botulism.
What gave it away was it said Acme on the side.
It did. It did.
Ah!
It went.
It's had a face full of black dust.
And then Adam West, dressed as Batman, took it and just run around trying to.
And jumped in the ocean.
Yeah. Yeah, Operation Mongoose is a good one. The smoke. Right, so the CIA attempted to juggle a jar of cold cream containing poison pills into his room. When Castro learned about her intent, so one of his ex-lovers, Martina Lorenzes, whom he met in 1959, she agreed to aid the CIA and attempted to smuggle a jar of cold cream containing poison pills into his room. When Castro learned about her intention, he reportedly gave her a gun and told her to kill him, but her nerves failed.
That guy's got nuts of steel.
Man, yeah.
Bloody hell.
He knew she wouldn't try and kill him.
Yeah. Oh, he does, doesn't he? Sorry, JJ, everybody's just shared an image of Castro and Trudeau together. And wow, I never realised.
There's so many, but there's so many articles on the internet saying no, it's fake. But there's so many documents and there's love letters from his mum to him.
Yeah.
Which
Amazing.
Apparently were destroyed.
Again, if you don't know what we're looking at, go to the Discord channel. I've put the image in there. Again, if you've seen these images before you listen to the episode, you're going to be confused until this very point now. Now you know.
Mm-hmm.
This is a new game I've decided to play.
I'll calm down now with the pictures.
I'll put one in there.
I couldn't find the one. I can find the one of Fidel being kissed by loads of flapper girls, but I don't think that's the one that I saw on this documentary. But maybe the one I saw in the documentary was doctored to look like the one you were talking about.
So, get back onto the nuclear weapons treaty. Did you know that Kennedy and my brain is gone again because it's so late. The then leader of the Soviet Union and Russia, I can't remember his name, but they were talking through messages in a newspaper.
Really?
Yeah. Was it Russian Prime?
That's some Call of Duty shit. That.
And I was going to say, wow.
Gorbachev. Was it Gorbachev?
Gorbachev.
No, was it
I don't know. It sounds right, so it must be.
Khrushchev. Nikita Khrushchev.
Nikita Khrushchev.
Khrushchev, that's who it was. He was him and Kennedy had formed a relationship, a friendship, and they were chatting through letters in newspapers. And they were
That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's
and
fucking smart.
They were trying to, because obviously military were involved more, and they didn't want the KGB or the fucking FBI and the CIA to get involved. They were trying to sort out this issue through that, and that's just the thing.
That almost sounds like how difficult it is being a graphic designer, trying to get answers from people. Just like, yeah, if you could just let me know, before 5 o'clock so we can get it sorted. No, I'll just wait till the next day before the paper comes out, and then I'll send it to you, and then you read it, and then you send the result. Yeah, it just sounds fucking rubbish. It sounds great, like when we look back at it, but it was only the 60s. Surely they had technology that was a bit better than that.
Yeah, they did.
It's almost bad as carrier pigeon.
Yeah,
not good.
Yeah, but it's just another little bit of information I had. I didn't really mean that.
I'm trying to see where it was about the nuclear weapons treaty. Okay, yep.
On November
22nd, 1963, JFK was assassinated in Dallas. Vice President Lyndon B. Long Dick Johnson assumed the presidency upon Kennedy's death. Marxist and former U.S. Marine Lee Harvey Oswald was arrested for the state crime. But he was shot and killed by Jack Ruby 2 days later. The FBI and the Warren Commission both concluded Oswald had acted alone in the assassination, but various groups contested in the Warren report and believed that Kennedy was the victim of a conspiracy.
Jack Ruby is like the worst part of this whole story.
The
reason we have conspiracies is because of Jack Ruby. If he hadn't done what he did, we would have more answers. We'd have some kind of inkling.
Such a weird catalyst in the whole entire. One of the most rarely spoken of characters, like when it comes to just talking about the conspiracy behind it all, the one person who changed like the potential progression and timeline of this conspiracy theory, just like Jack Ruby, the guy that killed Oswald, him.
And
Like,
he was part of the mob, wasn't he? He was like the mob,
yeah. He had in New Orleans. He had connections down there and was allegedly proven to be a part-time CIA informant. We get to that in one of the end conspiracies, however. So, but right, okay. Our next person in this conspiracy of main importance, Lee Harvey Oswald. He was born. So yeah, you interject whenever you want here, Ben, because I know that you do have a fair bit on Harvey. Harvey. Anyway. Born October 18th, 1939. He was born at the Old French Hospital in New Orleans, Louisiana. He was a former U.S. Marine who allegedly assassinated U.S. President John F. Kennedy on November 22nd, 1963. Allegedly, in quotation marks as well, because I've been to Dealey Plaza. I've been lucky enough to go into the School Book Depository Museum, and on a plaque outside the front door on the entrance on Dealey Plaza, the museum's around the back, the word allegedly, where there is a plaque that it describes the events that happened, the word allegedly has been scraped around so much throughout its lifetime being there that it stands out from every other word on the plaque. Amazing. And they haven't changed it. And they just, I've got a picture of it and everything. And
Dean will put that in the Discord.
Yes. Oh no, I'll see if I can find the link for my photo album on my Facebook of Dealey Plaza, the grassy knoll, and the museum, and I'll link it into the Discord. That place as a whole, I worked in Dallas in 2020, and when you go to locations of like historical areas on the planet, you think of like architecture and like the pyramids or like the Leaning Tower of Pisa or whatever, you know. But when you get to somewhere like Dealey Plaza and you see how small of an area this whole entire event sort of happened in, it's weird. You get such a weird feeling. I went down there while I was working there for about 2 weeks. I went down there 3 times just because first time I went there just to see it. Second time I went there for the museum, hung around even further and went to the railroad track over the bridge. I went to the grassy knoll and stood on it there, read all the graffiti that people have been writing on the fence. And the third time I just went back there again and just sat on the water fountains at the top of Elm Street and just sat there and just looked, because it just gives off a weird feeling. And I don't know if that's because I'm just heavily invested in it, but...
Well, again, it goes back to that like point in time. It's a very important point in time that spawned literally the future that we have now,
right? And
without that moment in that place, like there's got to be a lot of like psychic energy. I bet you'd like that one, JJ, didn't you? The idea of psychic energy being there. It's a bit of you, that one. I think there's got to be a lot of psychic energy there, a lot of power, you know, and a lot of, you know, important. I think of the amount of people that are talking about the JFK assassination right now and Dealey Plaza, like the collective unconscious has got to be like fully on, like constantly have like some kind of like aura around it, right?
Well, it wasn't just there, was it though? That it was like one of the big first televised events,
right? Exactly.
So like, it was before the space launch, right? Was it 60? Was it 66? Did you say?
I can't
63. It was November 22nd.
Yeah, the beginning of the 60s was basically kind of a time where the TV was becoming a public thing rather than a posh private thing.
Right, yeah, because the famous Zapruder film was initially shown on a cable access show to begin with.
And did you know that didn't come out for about 3 or 4 years after the... Yeah.
And which is incredible how that footage just... Even, again, we continually keep going back to the idea of this event happening no matter what, no matter if how many times you'd go back in time would push against you to stop it. 3-4 years later, a movie comes out that captures for the first ever time, I believe, obviously the assassination of a president in all of its gory detail. Like and for it to even be a catalyst in spawning the conspiracy theories because of the back and to the left, as Bill Hicks says, the eruption of Kennedy's head. Yeah, exactly.
Back
It's
to the left.
it's so incredible, and yeah, you just get a weird energy for being down there, man. It's odd, but intriguing as well.
Yeah.
Anyway, Lee Harvey Oswald was placed in juvenile detention at the age of 12 for truancy, during which time he was assessed by a psychiatrist as emotionally disturbed due to a lack of normal life. The reformatory psychiatrist, Dr. I'm going to butcher this.
Renatus Hardux.
There you go. Dr. Renatus Hardux described Oswald as immersed in a vivid fantasy life turning around the topics of omnipotence and power, through which Oswald tries to compensate for his present shortcomings and frustrations. Just sounds like he's got little man syndrome.
Well, his mum was like, his mum was a bit uppity, and she thought the sun shined out of her own ass, and she and she had convinced Lee through his entire life that he was important. He was like, you know, and
worth so much more,
so much more than it actually was, and you know, and then he kind of built this up in his head that he was an important person, and I'd wonder what he would think now. Like,
yeah,
his whole life trying to be important, so his whole life trying to be known for something, and he is probably the most famous assassin of all
which is
time.
so ironic.
Yeah,
like it's so fucking ironic. Now that you lay it out like that, you're going to be something huge. He has all of the traits for someone not to be huge, but history fucking kicked him in the right direction.
He spent his whole life, and then we'll get into this like as we go along. He spent his whole life trying to be important. He spent his whole life trying to be someone who was going to be, who people would look up to, or people impactful is definitely the word. And he ended up almost being a martyr. Like
it's awful when you think about it. It's fucking bizarre when you lay it out in that creepy
because when you get into the stuff he did with like Fair Play for Cuba and like and all that stuff, where he was fighting, pushing both sides against each other to try and start this kind of
communist, this revolution almost.
He wanted to get done over by one side so he could say, I done that for you guys. And again, he wanted to be a martyr. That was his plan.
Wow.
But yeah, we'll just get into let's get into the rest of it, and then we'll talk about like going to Soviet Union.
Sure.
Stuff. It's crazy.
After attending 22 schools in his youth, he quit repeatedly, and finally, when he was 17, joined the Marines. Oswald was court-martialed twice while in the Marines and jailed. Like all Marines, though, Oswald was trained and tested in shooting. In December 1956, he scored 212, which was slightly above the requirements for the designation of sharpshooter. In May 1959, he scored 191, which reduced his rating to marksman. Oswald was court-martialed after he accidentally shot himself in the elbow with an unauthorized 22 caliber handgun. Can I be real? That must fucking hurt. Shooting yourself in the elbow, just boom.
Apparently, according to someone wrote a book about him before he committed before
he became Lee Harvey Oswald.
Before he did before the day in Dallas. He was once, I can't remember.
What? Really?
Someone he was in the Marines with wrote a book about being in the Marines.
All right, okay.
Made a massive thing about Lee Harvey Oswald and how like his type of personality and some of the things that would happen during like the thing. And apparently when he did shoot himself in the arm, he kind of walked out and went, I appear to have shot myself. Like calm as
comedically.
Yeah, like comedically calm about it. Like I appear to have shot myself. Like he was like very matter of fact about it. He said he was talking about in this book how serious, like he was perpetually serious. Like he was a very serious man. Like we've all met those people that are just don't have fun.
I can't have a joke. Like, or saying, you say a joke and they'll be like, well, that would be impossible.
Yeah.
That can't happen.
He was just
super fun at parties.
Yeah, chronically serious guy. And he wrote this book about Lee Harvey before he was even known.
It's like a Marvel superhero crossover. It's like Oswald just happened to appear in this like universe. Hey, it's me.
Yeah,
That's so fucking
crazy.
interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So, after being court-martialed for the unauthorized 22 caliber handgun, he was court-martialed a second time for fighting with a sergeant who he thought was responsible for his punishment in the shooting matter. He was demoted from private first class to private and briefly imprisoned. Oswald was later punished for a third incident while he was on a nighttime sentry duty in the Philippines. He inexplicably fired his rifle into the jungle. Like, I can imagine you would actually get fucking reprimanded hugely for doing that.
The main thing is the guy's just a bit of a cunt.
It just sounds like a dick, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm just going to shoot. Like, why would you do that? You're shooting a bullet into nowhere.
We all know this guy, though, is like, just like, it's not a bit like Mott.
He's so much more likable than Mott, but careless.
I don't even know who this guy is, but
you could agree. Believe me,
Mott's the nicest guy on the planet. He's just a nightmare to be around.
He's just an handful, but my God, would you dive in front of a bullet for him?
Yeah. Whereas Harvey Oswald, Lee Harvey, you wouldn't dive in front of him.
No, you'd be like, look at this cock gobbler. What a dickhead. He was
a contrarian. He was overtly serious. He just wanted everyone to take him seriously. He wanted to be like always right.
Center of attention.
Exactly. He was just just a dickhead, man. Like if you ignore the fact that he might have allegedly assassinated President Kennedy.
Right.
He's just a dick. Even if he didn't, and there's nothing to do with it. The guy is a fucking idiot. Like,
well, that's probably why they used him as a
patsy,
quote unquote, used him as a scapegoat,
right.
didn't they? So.
Right, because he was impressionable and just willing to do anything.
He made a nuisance of himself. Is what he did, and like as we go on, you'll people realize what a nuisance of himself he made. He was
well. There's a guy who goes around York, and he used to wear a monkey mask, but now he just wears like a yellow fireman's helmet, and he is just a nuisance. Like he isn't a bad person. But I think to get him off the streets, the York Council told everyone that he was a paedophile. So now he walks down the street. So right, he wears like a Libertine jacket and a walking stick. And he's been in York for like 20 years, and he changes his outfit. Sometimes he wears a monkey mask. Sometimes he wears a yellow fireman's helmet. But now people avoid him. People cross over the street. Before he was like, oh, there's that fucking weirdo. But now everyone knows him as York paedophile.
That sounds like
I'll find a picture of him. There'll be a picture of him on the internet. You guys carry on.
The Yorkie nonce.
I'm just the picture guy today.
That sounds like a part of a script that was removed from Hot Fuzz just for time reasons.
No, it's definitely true. If anybody in Discord,
council conspiracy to get rid of a nuisance. Why don't we just put someone in a chip shop and say, oh, you know that guy with a fireman helmet on? I saw him rape a kid once.
Honestly, that was basically it. Because if he was a paedophile, they wouldn't have allowed him out of the house, would they?
Yeah.
But because he does just walk around, he doesn't say anything to anybody. He just loiters. He's probably got mental health issues. Anybody in the Discord from York, if you can just put like a star monkey man, just to clarify that I ain't talking shit. Yeah, that would be great. But it's true.
Fucking hilarious. A small in council job. There's an inside conspiracy.
We need to get rid of that monkey man. Well, now everyone comes to York for Harry Potter and shit. They don't want like this weird like hybrid Planet of the Apes, Fireman Sam, fucking French revolutionary guy walking around not doing anything. They want people dressed as wizards and Vikings, not fucking weird sort of like mental.
Screaming, there's a York Council conspiracy. They're saying everybody's a nonce. You could be next.
I haven't seen him for ages. He's probably in the river, to be honest. Dead, not swimming.
Wow, what a segue.
York Monkey Man.
York Monkey Man. Right, where were we?
Okay, sorry. Let me finish. Yeah, let me finish this off then. Go on, Ben.
He was honorably released from his active duty in the Marine Corps into the reserve. They promptly flew to Europe and defected to the Soviet Union. Right. So that he decided that he was. So he didn't just actually. This is not true. He didn't just decide to become to go to the Soviet Union. he was very well read. He was an intelligent guy. Like, he was a dickhead, but he was an intelligent guy, and he really was into communism and Marxism, which is like, I don't think it works personally, but I see the benefits of it, and I see
right. Yeah, this is. I've always seen a confliction of Marxism and communism in the story too. Like that just hasn't.
He calls himself a Marxist, but he also says that he's a communist. But it's basically
favors communism, right?
Yeah, same thing. And yeah, so he wanted to he went to the Soviet Union to renounce his citizenship of the US, and he said he was going to sell his secrets because he worked on the radars and he worked with the U-2 planes, not the band U-2. I don't think
no one would work with him.
I don't think the Soviet Union would ever bring him in. That's not him. That's a Photoshop.
No, I've actually found it.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
sorry, guys. Anyway, alarmy. What?
Oh, poor guy.
Oh, he's just a bloke. He looks like Fireman Sam.
He's not a firefighter.
I know.
And sometimes he wears a monkey mask with a Libertine jacket and a fire helmet.
That's what he wants.
Just saying.
Way too good.
But there's a nod to that guy. He's not a nonce. He's just a bit weird.
But there is an inside conspiracy going on at York Council.
Yeah, they hate him.
Fuck York Council, man. Fuck York Council. Yeah, so he fled to the Soviet Union. He tried to sell military secrets.
And I just want to clarify this as well. What Ben mentioned about Lee Harvey Oswald saying to the US Embassy that he was going to Russia to sell military secrets, he actually said that, and through Freedom of Information Acts in recent years, it has also been proven that there were audio recordings of him saying this, and that they knew he had said these things, but he was never followed up about it. Again, we will get to that, but that did happen.
Wasn't he followed up on? That's the thing.
Right,
like,
yes.
You don't like...
we won't spoiler it.
There's no reports, but...
Yeah.
But yeah, so he went to the Soviet Union. They were like, we don't want you, mate. You fuck off. Like,
yeah, you're too unstable.
We don't want you. They could tell, the KGB, like...
Could tell he was a nutcase.
They could tell he was a nutter. But like, he stayed.
He stayed because he ended up trying to commit suicide by slitting his wrists.
Yeah, but he did it like he didn't really half-assed. Really.
He My Chemical Romanced it.
And he knew, and he wrote in his historic diary, is what he called it. It was just a journal. In Lee Harvey Oswald's historic journal or historic diary, he wrote, "I'm gonna kill myself now." Blah blah blah. Like, they clearly don't want me. I'm gonna kill myself. Blah blah blah. Knowing full well that his minder, because when you go to these countries, they give you a minder, was going to come in to check on him. So he knew that it was going to get there. And
it was again a cry for, like, look at me, look what I'm doing.
Yeah, and then the Soviet Union, Russia, they felt sorry for him and they let him stay. They gave him a menial job in some factory. I think it was a television, a sheet metal factory, in a TV factory or something like that.
Right, okay.
Yeah, and then he met his wife, Marina, and his daughter. He had a daughter. Before he decided, once he learned Russian, he realized that, hold on a minute.
Yeah, communist life is a bit shit, actually.
It's a bit shit. And there's two layers of communists.
There's the look at us.
Ones.
The wealthy communists, and then the fuck you, we don't care about
workers.
You.
And he thought, because he was a defector, he would get into that elite, eventually make his way into that elite circle. But once he realized that he wasn't getting anywhere, he
get in that sheet factory, coward, off you go.
He wrote to the US government asking to come home.
And what was interesting about that as well is when he he claimed that he wanted to revoke his citizenship and say he was selling military secrets. He didn't actually sign the form of defection. Yeah. So when he returned to the US, he was allowed to get his citizenship back, and he was also given I can't remember what it was called, and I noted it on my notes down here, but he was given a government loan, a repatriatism loan or something like that, I think it's called, that then paid for him to be repatriatized.
Yeah, he claimed that he never
What?
renounced his citizenship. And yeah, he basically went, no, I never said that. No, I didn't actually say that.
Yeah, and apparently, according to the Warren report, the State Department decided to give him the loan because his unstable character and prior criticism of the United States would make his continued presence in the Soviet Union damaging to the prestige of the United States. So he was like, that to me stands out as well, because that's like, what's one random guy going to do in Russia that's like, apparently spouting off all of this shit? One random guy in Russia. Would they really care about one random guy unless they had an invested interest in him? Exactly.
But apparently no one from the FBI came and debriefed him.
Really? Nobody.
He sought out people to like debrief him.
Huh.
He was at no point did anyone come and debrief him. Yeah. Where is it? It said like yeah. No one came to it. And he was convinced, at that point he was like, he started getting back into politics. That's when he came.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
That's when he started getting back into politics. Where are we at now in there?
So yeah, that concludes a brief run up or rundown even of who Lee Harvey Oswald is. So people listening,
have you got, before we go on, have you mentioned the Edwin Walker assassination attempt?
No. Do you? I knew nothing about that. Go ahead, sir.
In March '63, so
right.
7 months before he allegedly assassinated JFK, he tried to assassinate Edwin Walker, the Major General Edwin Walker.
What? Why? Edwin Walker.
Edwin Walker is a fascist. Edwin Walker was a fascist. He got court-martialed for. He was a outspoken anti-communist and segregationist, and he was a member of the John Birch Society. He was relieved of his command of the 24th Division of the U.S. Army in West Germany for distributing right-wing literature to his troops. Obviously, Oswald considered Walker to be the leader of a fascist organization, and he wanted to get him because there's one thing that we can all agree with the communists on, that fascists aren't very nice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, punch a fascist in the face.
They're the natural enemy to the communist.
Wow, I never knew that.
Yeah, he would do training. He was running laps, doing like what he did was this is, I'm trying to remember this now. So on the night of the assassination, leading up to the night of assassination, he would run drills. So he'd bury his gun, run home, get changed, and then a couple of days later go back, dig his gun up, take it back. So he was practicing that. So on the night of the assassination, he shot at Edwin Walker, missed by literally his hair. He only shot once, buried the gun, and legged it. Yeah.
If Lee Harvey Oswald was a government shill kind of guy, it almost is ringing true about the competence of the government. Like, he is fucking rubbish. Like,
right? Yeah, he's just a failure.
So I'm just reading an article. It just said he attempted to assassinate him. He missed, but he managed to shoot himself in his own elbow. Like, it's almost like he should have run for president, because he probably would have been like the Donald Trump of the fucking
of the 60s.
Yeah, absolute ridiculous.
What a useless sack of shit.
I know, hilarious. And they finished him off before he had fucking chance to do it.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because that only tells me that that's more evidence for him to be on the sort of like the state's surveillance. Like, this dude that just keeps popping up and is just being an absolute fucking idiot wherever he goes. Oh, what did he do an Oswald again? Like, he just sounds like an absolute twazzock.
Yeah.
It's even better. He missed him and pierced through the walls of his study, and it ended up in a stack of his papers.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Yeah, and they didn't. And they had no idea it was Oswald. No idea. It was only until later on that George de Mohrenschildt, which is someone that
yeah, that's someone we're going to come into later.
he knew that Oswald disliked General Walker, and
yeah,
I mean, it's not. I don't think it's fact that this happened. This it was Oswald, but it was Oswald.
It was Oswald. I'm not saying it's aliens, but it's aliens.
It's aliens. Yeah.
Okay, so after, is there anything more you've got on Oswald?
Well, yeah, he that's when he started getting in with the Cuban, like
Fair play for Cuba. That's it.
Fair play for Cuba, but he was also running like things with Guy Bannister, who, if you've seen the film JFK, this is basically, that's where all that JFK shit comes from. Yeah,
that was what Oliver Stone's script really centered around, which is the third conspiracy.
Jim Garrison and Guy Bannister and all that, and you know, the guy with no eyebrows, played by Joe Pesci in the film.
Joe Pesci.
Yeah,
but great movie, by the way.
Right, so I can't. You need to remind me about the guy, the Jim Garrison. I've got I know something about the Jim Garrison thing that he said. Not off record, but towards the end of his life, that Jim Garrison said about his theory. Like, his theory stayed the same, but there was an added thing, like, to it.
All right, I'll remind you. I can't remember, but I'll remind you.
Yeah.
I'll remind you when we get to that.
I don't want to ruin it now because it's hilarious, but it's also it's like so old man kind of thing to say. But yeah,
so boomerish.
Yeah.
Okay,
more than younger than that.
If you're done with Oswald, I'll move on to what the Warren report
basically when he moved back, the only thing that happened when he moved back to America is that Marina said that he stopped being loving, caring husband and started being
he was quite abusive, wasn't he?
He was an abusive man. Yeah. She said that he was happiest when he was in the Soviet Union, which is strange because
which is weird why he would come back.
Yeah, because he was never going to be anything. That's why.
Right, of course, yeah.
He never was going to live up to the expectations that he had for his own life. But actually, he couldn't do anything about it. He was stuck in there when he became the worker ant that he probably was meant to be.
Yeah,
you know, he just acclimatized to it, and then he didn't have that outside influence of people telling him or he didn't have that. Once you're there, that is the communist.
Nobody knew who he was.
Yeah, so and no one thinks any differently. No one speaks out, do they? You don't speak out in those things. So yeah. I think that's pretty much it. Yeah. And
okay.
Cuba, and then obviously it leads up to he got his job on the October the 14th. He got a job at the Texas School Book Depository.
Very conveniently as well.
Conveniently got the job there a month before. Yeah.
We'll get to that again anyway. So the Warren report, or the official story, goes like this. Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone in shooting President Kennedy. On the 22nd of November 1963, Oswald installed himself in the 6th floor window of the Texas School Book Depository, his place of employment, as we just mentioned. The window overlooks Dealey Plaza that was on the route of President Kennedy's motorcade through the city. Just before 12:30 p.m., President Kennedy rode in an open-top limousine with his wife Jackie, Texas Governor John Connally, and Connally's wife Nellie. From the 6th floor window, Lee Harvey Oswald shot 3 bullets from a 6.5 millimeter Mannlicher Gurkana. I think I've pronounced that right. Mannlicher Gurkana rifle. The first shot, that's a tongue twister. The first shot went through Kennedy's neck and Governor Connolly's right side and wrist. The second missed entirely, and the third hit Kennedy's head. The commission equivocates about the order of the 3 shots, but this is their best guess. Law enforcement found his rifle in the 6th floor window, covered in his fingerprints, with 3 spent shells nearby. At least one witness saw a man matching Oswald's description leaning from a 6th floor window with a rifle. After shooting, Oswald left the book depository, and he was next seen 45 minutes later when, according to witnesses, he shot and killed a Dallas police officer. Spent shells from that shooting matched those from a pistol that Oswald owned. 1 hour and 10 minutes after Kennedy's assassination, Oswald was apprehended in a movie theatre. He had the gun in his possession. He resisted arrest at the theatre, claiming he didn't know what he was being arrested for. He famously claimed he was a patsy, as you've heard from Ben's impressions earlier. The Warren Commission dismissed it as empty rhetoric. Oswald was then shot 2 days later on October 24th by Dallas nightclub owner Jack Ruby. Oswald was being escorted by the local police to county jail. The commission determined that Jack Ruby also acted alone. They claim Ruby had been driven temporarily insane by grief and was acting on the chivalric impulse to spare Jackie Kennedy the pain of testifying in front of Oswald at his trial. That's literally, quote, word for word. That is, by the way. Like, driven insane by chivalry. What a simp. What is like literally the birth of simp, if I've ever heard of it. The fact that Oswald was killed 2 days later before he was able to speak his side of the story is the most suspicious event of all. If he was working with anyone else, he was also now silenced as a precaution by his co-conspirators.
Exactly. That for me, right? That for me, the fact that he died 2 days, he was murdered 2 days after the assassination, is the biggest kind of like tell that there's something else going on.
Because also of interest was the exiting of Oswald from the police station. Apparently, they were exiting out of the back because originally they didn't want to be intercepted by reporters, which they would usually expect going out of the front of the police department, right? They would expect a car to be parked out up front. And apparently it was reported that it was unnatural for them to bring Oswald out of the back, even though the press had been told to meet them in the car park.
Yeah.
Which was, again, a lot of people were saying, so they exited out of the initial car park because they did not want to intervene with reporters. So what we'll do, we'll go into the garage. But the reporters can testify that they were like, yeah, we were told by police officers to go round this way.
And apparently Jack Ruby was let in, like a door was left unlocked for him to get in.
I heard about that, yes, which was very,
by
very...
one of his police friends.
Yeah, exactly. So we have 3 conspiracies in total.
Yeah.
We're gonna
have you, just before you move on,
okay.
Have you mentioned the propaganda that was handed out prior to the shooting?
No.
Fair play for Cuba stuff.
Oh.
No, there was an anti-Kennedy wanted poster handed out on the day before the shooting in Dallas.
Yes.
It said wanted for treason.
Yeah.
Whoa, really?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. But it's almost I don't know. It just looks. It doesn't look like a sort of a group that have done it. It literally looks like an official document that someone's handed out.
Yeah.
But it was apparently thousands. Like they say, there was some guy walked out of a cafe and threw loads in the air on the corner of, I think it was like 1 block away from where he got shot.
I mean, would you expect that considering he's coming to the city and there might be people that obviously weren't in line with...
Well liked, was he?
No.
Apparently, because obviously the Dallas Morning News, still one of the biggest newspapers in Dallas, was totally anti-Kennedy.
Yeah.
And I think that might have something to do with it, actually.
It's a southern state, isn't it? So it's and he was quite from what I gather, quite a bit of a lefty, wasn't he?
Yes, yeah,
Kennedy.
Yes.
Very much so.
He was he was kind of all liberal and that, and they don't like that in Texas.
Yeah, and that was a lot of the reason.
The pamphlet was funded by Haroldson Lafayette Hunt Jr., an American oil tycoon and Republican political activist.
Exactly, the industries that weren't happy with Kennedy's reason, well, for non-reasoning of pulling out of Vietnam, as they felt.
Yeah.
But he was just being progressive, wanted to put an end to the war, wanted to get the troops out, wanted to
Exactly.
go along with the dismantling of the nukes treaty. And of course, people of the oil industry alone are not going to be happy. Wanted for treason,
Mate,
because he
this
decided
guy-
to stop a war or try to.
This Lafayette Hunt guy, he had 15 kids.
Jeez.
Right.
So he
First
Liked
one-
sex more than his dad, than
Hey.
JFK's papa.
The first one was born in 1915, right? And the last one was born in 1950.
fucking hell.
She's still alive today. She's ambassador
So-
to Austria.
Super sperm.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Ambassador to Austria.
Yeah. Chairman of Hunt Oil. Ray
That's
Lee Hunt.
crazy.
Hunt Oil is still going to this day.
But yeah, just a lot more.
Wow.
Well, many people in the spaghetti western that is Kennedy's assassination.
This poster almost reads like, you know, when kids run for like class president or whatever, and they're trying to prove that the other person's rubbish. He doesn't subsidize the tuck shop with very many sherbet saucers. Like, it's really bad. He has been lax in enforcing communist registration laws.
He banned Twixes for no reason.
It's just another one.
Oh, hang on. This is good. He has consistently appointed anti-Christians to federal office, upholds the Supreme Court in anti-Christian rulings, aliens and non-communist abound in federal offices.
The Christian thing is definitely that it is talking about Jewish people.
Yes.
Oh,
yes. But I got really excited because I read aliens, but now I know he's talking about people who aren't from
aliens,
America. Yeah. Never mind. Forget that.
I'm not sure if I can remember during my research, but because I didn't get into a lot of conspiracies. I went a lot into Lee Harvey Oswald. Does anyone blame the Jews for this?
I don't think I've ever heard them like mentioned.
That's good.
For once. Do you know what I mean?
Conspiracy. The Jews don't get blamed for this.
It's one of them at least. Are they there? Was one of them a closet Jew somewhere? Maybe one of the mobsters just maybe used to cater for one of them in their Italian
Jack
restaurant.
Ruby was part of a
New Orleans.
He was Polish-born Orthodox Jew.
Oh, there you go. Boom. There you go.
But he actually did it. There's no conspiracy. He did.
Yeah, there is no conspiracy.
Physically shoot.
Bloody
this poster is dreadful. It's almost like the guy's just like run out of things, because in the first sentence he says he is betraying our friends (brackets Cuba, Katanga, Portugal), and then in the next one he's talking about fucking prosecuting them.
I love how your graphic design bone has just been like irked in this. You're like, ugh.
It's awful. It's annoying as well because like they've put a picture of JFK on there, a front picture and a side picture. Like, it's fucking JFK. He's the president of America.
Like, you don't know what he looks like.
you're giving this to like gun touting Southerners. They're just going to be like, oh, you know, it could have been anybody in Texas that day. They'll be like, oh, well, I've just read that he's befriended. He's treating our friends Cuba in a bad way. Let's just shoot him. I know.
Let's just shoot him.
Let's just shoot him.
Oh,
fucking hell.
Okay, wow. Ben, have you got any more about Ruby or anything, or are we going to be ready to move into the first conspiracy?
Move on now.
Okay, right. First conspiracy we've got, everyone. Communist retaliation. Oswald working for the Cubans or Soviets. Okay. The motivation for Cubans to be involved and to create their own assassination attempt comes from the fact Operation Mongoose executed numerous attempts of assassination on Cuban leader Fidel Castro. A very strong motive for Cubans to get involved, obviously, for the 600 plus assassination attempts, which they must have known about. Like, there's no way that the Cubans couldn't have noticed at one point that, like, hold on a minute. Why is it all of these cigars that I'm getting are exploding and all of these pepper like shakers are being mysteriously like moved or loaded with a knife or something like that? You know, it's so they're gonna have reasons anyway.
Wait a minute, these candles on my birthday cake are dynamite.
Why do I keep getting electrocuted on my doorbell?
Laid out all these micro machines at the top of the stairs.
Who owns all of these marbles? What's going on? Oswald also had some ties to the pro-Castro group called Fair Play for Cuba Committee, which we've touched on a little bit, which he joined between his return to the US from the USSR and the assassination, meaning there's opportunity for contact from Cuba and the ability to form a relationship with Lee Harvey Oswald. We will get a little bit further into that in other conspiracies as well. This conspiracy is also shoed in primarily for Oswald's mysterious 6-day visit to Mexico City a few weeks before the assassination, which was really weird.
Yeah,
Why,
it
like,
was really weird, but also exactly the same as what he did in the USSR. But he's trying to get to Cuba through the Soviet Union, wasn't it? Well, he's trying to get to the Soviet Union through Cuba. That was what he was going for.
And he was trying to get access to both countries from both embassies. But it also, this Mexico trip coincides with a few other characters that he was mixing with because of the idea of possibly being out of jurisdiction. The CIA being out of jurisdiction.
Well, he was being watched, wasn't he?
Right, he was being watched, and it would make sense for him to be.
Him?
Was it him being watched? Because
have you seen the pictures?
No, I haven't.
Look anything like him.
Hold on, I haven't seen these pictures that allegedly were taken of this meeting that the CIA originally said that they had no idea took place. Let me finish this off as we will get to those pictures because obviously they're important. Declassified documents within the JFK archives show that although recognised the trip did happen, it was never investigated, allegedly never investigated by the CIA, FBI, or State Department, which gives a lot of wiggle room for something suspicious going on between Oswald and the communist countries while he was in Mexico City. Why wasn't the visit given more attention, or at least claimed to have had more attention to it? Because, Ben, you said that there's photographs, which initially, in the Warren report, the FBI testified that there was no evidence.
Looks at. Oh, I'm going to put them in the thing so you just see them. So this is the guy they've said they photographed Lee Harvey Oswald, and if you watch, there's a film called Killing Oswald. I think it's on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
Yeah,
I've
seen it. Yeah, I saw it I saw it before we even discussed doing this like a year ago. So
yeah. And,
what? There is no way that's Lee Harvey Oswald.
So they're the ones that they're claiming is Lee Harvey Oswald in Mexico. So there is the potential.
It looks like the guy from 2.4 Children.
It does
look like
Al Bundy.
So
sorry, that guy.
The guy from Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Yes,
they
that's the one I was thinking of.
Ryan Stiles.
Yeah, I think so.
So I think that they were trying to. There's thoughts that they were trying to place him in Mexico City because what they wanted to do, and I think this is what this conspiracy is. It's your conspiracy is Oswald worked for the Cubans of the Soviets, right? So my take of this one is that the CIA was trying to place him as a communist.
Yes.
And that he was retaliating for the attempts on Castro. And they were trying to, what they were trying to do was get Oswald's visa to Cuba via the Soviet Union, whether it was Oswald or not, but to have him there, have a phone call, because there was a phone call later on.
To put him in the location.
Saying, I'm just ringing to check my visa's going through okay.
Yeah.
But then you see the photos, it doesn't look like he was there.
No, exactly.
Like it was him. So I think the conspiracy here for me is that maybe not that the communists were retaliating, but they were the CIA or the FBI, but I think it was the CIA were trying to put him as this.
Yeah,
right? They were trying to make this communist retaliation the conspiracy.
Yes,
not actually. It wasn't actually the.
There wasn't any intention behind him going there to meet these people for anything.
They just wanted him to look like he was going. He was part
of something, the bigger picture that was being planned.
This is a retaliation. When then the CIA can then invade Cuba with due cause.
Yeah.
Bang. That for me is one of the I like that one.
I'll get. Sorry, pause for 1 second, guys. I won't be a moment. I do apologize. 1 sec.
What does it means? Dean's gone.
Won't be a moment, everybody. One second.
Dean's just shit his pants. And he's had to go and change his pajamas that he was wearing for the
He's
podcast.
off to go write the 2001 book because you've just come up with a new theory, and he's
Hold on a minute.
he's just got to re-edit it.
Stop the press! In the basement, his wife is currently hand typing out. He's self-published
With one of them clear visors on, like the sleeve holders. Hold your sleeves up.
Stop the press! Stop the press! Dino? What's that, Dean? Stop the press! But I've just finished chapter 6. Johnson's Big Johnson.
I thought that was the name of the book.
Johnson Big Johnson.
Johnson's Big Johnson. And there's just a fold out in the middle pages. Life-size picture.
There's a map in this. Hold on a minute. That's not a map. That's a humongous penis.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah, I
Wow.
literally know nothing about this.
But yeah, I'm sure you'll know something soon. There's some fun bits coming up soon.
I just remember reading something about the correlation between Lincoln and Kennedy.
Yeah, see, you can drop that in because that's interesting and it's also silly.
Yeah.
The top one.
There's also a lot of coincidences with him because he was going to reveal the UFO thing, wasn't he? And that's why someone shot him.
Really?
Yeah, it was a free energy gun just shot him straight through the head.
Always a free energy gun, isn't it?
I apologize for
9/11, free energy gun. JFK, free energy gun. Lincoln,
7/7, free energy gun.
So we're going to scrap the rest of the podcast because we realised it was just a free energy gun.
Oh, yeah. It was just a laser.
It was just,
it was just a primitive Nerf gun.
Do you want me to finish off where I left off?
Yeah, go for it, man.
Okay, talk shit.
Before we start on your second one, Dean, I think JJ's got the Lincoln versus JFK coincidence one he wants to talk about.
I mean, it's not
so
even
silly. It's so silly.
There's so many coincidences, but they're all just like
they both had 7 letters in their name.
Yeah, I mean that's the first one, which you usually start with your strong one, but no, they didn't. They didn't on Wikipedia.
Anyway,
okay, so
it wasn't that was the thing. It was the goals that they were both trying to do that were almost. So Lincoln was bringing out something I believe was called the Blue Note, which was going to give every soldier to leave the army like food tokens.
Okay.
Which was going to put the US government in loads of debt, but it was a way to repair the armies for doing what they do. And there was talks that Kennedy was going to do the same thing, which was also like a big strain on the Federal Reserve. So this is probably where the Jewish link comes in, the Zionist Jewish link comes in. But that was one of the big reasons, and it apparently just so happened that the eve of these assassinations was the conversations about this Blue Note were the thing on the eve of the assassinations both times, almost as if it was like a kill switch.
Calling card,
like, oh my god, he's talking about that Blue Note again, and he said that he's going to announce it at tomorrow's thing because that. The big again, I haven't got too much on it because this is just riffing off from what I remember. There's a documentary about Abraham Lincoln, and there's basically the correlation between what he was going to do with that to give to the people who I believe probably the Civil War.
Yeah.
He was going to give these people this thing to say, thank you for your service. Here's free food for you and your family for 10 months, 9 months, whatever. And JFK was apparently going to do the same thing.
Synchronicity.
And he was going to reveal about UFOs. On to you, Dean.
I want no UFOs now. Goddamn history. Anyway, Oswald was under surveillance of the CIA during his Mexico trip as a result of him visiting the 2 embassies. The US ambassador to Mexico, Thomas C. Mann, knew Oswald had met with Cuban diplomats and Mexican officials who were sympathetic to Castro's revolution. Mann believed there was a conspiracy involving some of these figures. He planned on investigating the conspiracy himself on the ground in Mexico, but he was stopped in doing so by a top-secret memo from the Secretary of State at the time, Dean Rusk. Mann testified that the memo ordered that he shut down any investigation in Mexico that might confirm or refute, this is a quote by the way, confirm or refute rumors of Cuban involvement in the assassination. In the same testimony, Mann stated that he believed the CIA station chief in Mexico, Winston Scott, received the same order, although Scott never confirmed this. But in memoirs published in 2008, decades after Scott's death, he asserted that he, like Mann, thought Oswald was working in conjunction with foreign powers. And what's interesting about that is it leads on to possible reasoning as to why the CIA might have actually put him there as well, to stop local investigation going on about it because of kicking dirt up about the fact that, oh shit, we've got assassination attempts that are going on right now. What is this dickhead doing? Like, causing a ruckus where they are. So the CIA knew Oswald had connections in Mexico City a few weeks before the assassination, and we know that the State Department and CIA impeded local investigation into that matter. And in turn, the State Department wanted to centralize the investigation and give the Warren Commission, who was primarily run by the FBI, like we mentioned earlier, wanted to give them full control over how the investigation moved forward. If it could have been in the interest of the official investigation that local investigators stopped because of the possibility of stirring suspicious leads and causing co-conspirators and potential witnesses to realize they were under suspicion, or the CIA was just desperate to keep its secret assassinations under wraps, basically, which makes a lot of sense if you ask me, in the sense of that they need to cover their tracks, you know, like. Sorry, go ahead, Ben.
That just seems like a running theme with most of these conspiracies that I've listened to, or most of these podcasts or read these books and things, is that most of the time the CIA is just trying to stop dodgy shit they're doing.
Right. Because
out.
if the Warren Commission then would have allowed local investigations going on, they would most likely have ended up turning up. They'd have been like, that Oswald fella that we're supposed to be looking into, he actually knows Dave in the CIA. So we got to go and talk to him, because why does he know him? You know, they were bound. They were bound to probably find a connection to the CIA as well, which obviously the FBI wouldn't want. So, this was all from the Warren Commission investigator, David Slawson. He was the chief investigator searching for evidence pointing to foreign conspiracy, and he was a key figure in the presentation of Oswald acting alone. But in 2013, he came out publicly that he had a revised belief in that seeing the amount of information withheld from the Warren Commission by intelligence agencies, it would have led him to believe otherwise to his initial understanding on the case. Basically saying, we didn't have enough information because it was being withheld by the FBI, but now I know how much information was being withheld from us. I don't believe what we actually believe is what happened.
There was so much. Because they were on the Warren report, they were basically told to anything that doesn't lead us to the lone gunman, discard.
Just do not give it the light of day, which is bananas.
But that's how these books. This is how the conspiracy started, because someone in the investigative team would be in the pub and go, oh, I'm not sure about this, and they would then tell two people. They would tell two people, and they would tell two people. And then someone would write a book about it. 2,000 books later.
2,000 books later. Oh man.
Well, speaking about one of them books, while we're just in a stopgap, The Celebration of Freedom, the JFK and the New Frontier.
Oh God.
Apparently there was a memo expressing JFK's interest in UFOs. And he was chatting with it 10 days before his assassination with a friend.
That he was talking about
I would
UFOs.
like to
meet them aliens.
Was he sending it in letters to what's his name, Nikita?
No, it's just in a memo.
That's crazy. I mean,
maybe it took 10 days for that memo to, like you say, in the newspaper format. It took him 10 days to put it to press, the guy to read it, and then to reply, and then them to send a message to Lee Harvey Oswald to shoot him. So it was like a 10-day turnaround. So he was actually meant to shoot him previously, but It just took that long. The
Yeah.
US Postal Service sucks.
So
like they do.
So when it comes to the idea of the Warren Commission not investigating Oswald's activity in Mexico further, can you really hold that against them, considering it's now proven that the FBI, although they testified and said, "Oh, we had no idea that he was there," and through the Freedom of Information Act and obviously testimonies from ex-Warren Commission reporters, can we really blame the Warren Commission for sitting there and going, we can't do anything? Well, we don't think he went over to Mexico because they just didn't have the evidence. They weren't given the evidence. So can we really blame them?
I think can you blame them? Yes. I think you can say you fuckers didn't do your job properly.
Didn't push further. Like
they were shackled. The people that wanted to investigate were shackled, and they were were kind of held back by the higher ups in the commission that wanted a specific answer.
Very channeled investigation, like you said, the lone gunman theory.
We need a lone gunman.
Yep.
Anything against the lone gunman theory, ignore. So yeah, I think
it's interesting as well, because before we close off on this as well, Fidel Castro apparently secretly himself met secretly with a Warren Commission investigator to insist he had nothing to do with the assassination because he knew how easy and dangerous a connection between Oswald and his supporters could have been.
Yeah.
Like, and that alone as well is, I wonder if that was him just being all chad about it and being like, let's see if they can assassinate me when I deliberately place myself next to someone.
Yeah. I just think that
useless idiots.
The only way that they, I think it was, if they were going to use it to the Warren report, just was, for me, was just big dicks he's just trying to get it off his plate and get everyone to move on. But I think if they'd wanted to, because fucking what's his name, Hulse was from the CIA who got sacked because of JFK. He was on the commission. There was no one on the commission that liked JFK. They all very
right. They all didn't like him.
Yeah. So I think they probably started the commission to go, right, how can we use this? And then they probably changed their mind in the end and went, oh, well, let's just try and get rid of it and just move on.
Right.
Because I think they were just trying to cover up what they were involved in.
Oh, of course. That's why. I'm leaning towards that direction now. Now that you think about the connections that the people within the commission, who they are friends with, and who because they'd probably be sitting there and go like, well, they're asking Mr. FBI or whatever, Mr. Dave Smith. So was Oswald in Mexico? No, I have no idea what you're talking about, Dean. We don't never see him over there. And then it's just like, well, he's my mate Dave. I can't fucking throw him under the bus. Like, of course he knows that Oswald was in Mexico.
Yeah.
Like, it's, well, they're all fucking in each other's pies, isn't they?
Yeah. I think, yeah, they will. It just seems like they're just trying to cover up their knowledge of who did JFK, who shot JFK, or their involvement. Or their knowledge, their prior knowledge that it was going to happen. Like,
right, yes. You know, to try and cut that one tie as if to be like, sorry, yeah, can't go any further now.
Yeah, because I think we can all agree that the CIA and the FBI had fair warning that
something
Oswald was pretty trouble. I genuinely don't think that Oswald was aiming for the president.
You don't? You think he was just there to... Yeah.
I believe he shot at the president,
deliberately
but
missed.
I think he was aiming for Governor Connolly.
Really?
Because he had issues with Dallas and he had issues with the governor and that.
Right, and
he wasn't a very good shot, was he? So we know that.
He was a good shot.
He was, yeah. He
was
went
a good
from
shot.
top sharpshooter to marksman.
Yeah.
Who? Oswald.
Yeah.
I thought he was terrible.
No, he was a medium shot.
I thought you said he got demoted.
Oh no, he got demoted because of fighting with a sergeant or whatever.
I thought you meant he was good, and then he got demoted to something that sounded good, but still wasn't as good as what he was.
Although he was demoted in skill set from sharpshooter to marksman, but being a marksman was still considered above average, and being a sharpshooter, you was considered quite special. But the rifle that he used is very questionable. But
they've done ballistics things, and they could it could have been done.
Jesse Ventura couldn't do it, so it couldn't be done. Did you ever
Yeah,
see
and
that
they found
episode?
out
And he
with
can
his
shoot
one?
a minigun with one arm, so
I think
See it in Predator.
I think they've done loads of different ballistics reports with like the same sort of gun, and firing the six shots in 20 seconds, and
Well,
know,
yeah,
or
that
three shots
clip.
in 20, 3 shots in 20 seconds, because it was bolt action. It wasn't like bang, bang, bang. It was bolt.
Yeah, it was. And it was
moving
like, what?
target as well, though. I don't.
But
Jesse
it was
Ventura
moving
was
away
just.
from him, but it wasn't moving like that.
Yeah.
He was moving. He knew the trajectory, and he was smart enough to know not to shoot at him because the car was coming towards him at one point.
Right,
He waited till
exactly.
it was going away
Yeah.
for him, so he wouldn't be caught straight away.
Because
Yeah.
in Call of Duty, you see that little glimmer and you
Yeah.
immediately duck to the floor.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
you know.
Yeah.
So
But
he
Jesse
was smart
Ventura
enough to
couldn't
know
do
that.
it. So
No, he couldn't hit him with a minigun.
Lee Harvey
Yeah,
Oswald
I
didn't
genuinely
do
think
it.
he might have been shooting for the governor. I don't
You
think he was
believe?
shooting JFK.
Yeah.
But that then does lead us nicely on to the next conspiracy, which is don't give away the title, because I think it's kind of, you need to lead into it, I think.
Yeah, so this was one when I was at the beginning of the episode, when I started mentioning how even today, like with the gradual release of, they've been closed again because obviously someone's alive that's responsible for it, but gradual not leaking, but Freedom of Information Act and declassification of certain files leads to further theories, they're not conspiracy theories, whereas this one is immensely plausible. So in 1977, ballistics expert Howard Donahue claimed that Oswald did in fact shoot JFK, but in the chaos of the moment was hit by accidental fire from a Secret Service agent named George Hickey, and this being covered up by the CIA, FBI, and Secret Services to protect the agent that opened fire. I remember hearing that for the first time when I was working on a building site. There was a guy reading a book, and I could see the picture on it, and I couldn't read it. I was like, well, what's that you're reading? It's called Mortal Error. And he was like, it's a new theory as to how Kennedy was killed. And when he explained it to me, I was like, what? That's way too obvious. But reading further into it it's really plausible.
So I listened to the last podcast on the left podcast, and this is the same theory that they went with as their one that they believe is true. Oswald fired hungover. They were hungover. The Secret Service,
the Secret Service agents
had
been out on the piss. Yeah, the night before.
They hadn't been to bed. Like they were out all night.
And just to paint the picture, JFK and all his servicemen were all given cowboy boots and cowboy hats. So paint that picture in your mind of drunk CIA agents wearing cowboy hats and cowboy boots.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a little tidbit for you.
Smash. And then
that's true.
It's true. And they shot Oswald shot. Bang.
Rootin' tootin' boo. Like that.
Excellent. Yeah, absolutely. It totally gets rid of the magic bullet theory. It explains the magic bullet.
Well, that's funny you say that, because Donahue, he's a ballistics expert, and he's actually in favor of the magic bullet. So, because so much of the ballistic evidence of the case was oddly missing from the official investigation into the assassination, Donahue put together his own analysis of the bullet's trajectory by using the famous Zapruder film of the assassination, information on the car and where JFK and Governor Connolly were seated, as well as medical evidence about JFK's wound. So this is like grassroots research that this guy has gone into because the information was so frail, yet he's come up with quite possibly one of the most convincing conspiracies and very, very likely solutions or conclusions of the assassination. So The first thing he examined was the magic bullet, and the magic bullet was the name given by skeptics to the Warren Commission's analysis of the trajectory of one of Oswald's bullet, and that was the first one that was was the first one that Oswald missed the second one, wasn't it? Because there was allegedly three shots in total, so it was the first shot that he had taken, and the idea was that the bullet entered the back of Kennedy's neck, exited through his rib cage, to which then the bullet also the bullet had gone through Kennedy's neck, entered Colony's right side, and then went through his wrist, and then ended up embedded in his thigh. But the most interesting part about it was the bullet wasn't damaged in any way, shape, or form. And they believed that because of the full metal jacket coating, that was why the bullet was so protected, and that the only damage that was sustained was the warping of the bullet. And I've always thought that, because I remember looking at the picture of the bullet removed from Governor Connolly's leg, and it just looked like, I don't know, almost like a banana ever so slightly bending if it was put straight.
So it wasn't removed from his leg, though, is it? Fell out, didn't it?
Yes.
And it was found on a gurney.
That's where a lot of the conspiracies come from, isn't it?
It might not actually be the bullet.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it was just found on a gurney.
Yeah, which is a possibility.
Yeah.
It wasn't physically... They weren't able to see if it was removed, because we'll get to it a bit later. Again, there is evidence about the autopsy. I've got notes on...
because there wasn't an exit wound, was there? Some sort.
Yeah,
so it was...
and the people, the initial Dallas coroners or autopsy people, they had initially reported that all of their findings about the bullet fragments and the exit and entry wounds and stuff, their reports ended up burned. They were end up misplaced or just never found again. But then when his body was illegally removed from Dallas and then taken to Washington for a pathologist to perform an autopsy who had zero experience in gunshot wounds, his report of his findings that were made, that were then given to the FBI, they were burned after 2 days. After 2 days, the evidence that would have confirmed where the bullets come from and whether it could have been the same bullets removed, as well as Kennedy's brain, by the way. I've got a few notes.
The autopsy is fucking awful. The photos that leaked, his head's just mush. I've got a few notes on it, particularly with the Kennedy autopsy report. So according to Texas law, the autopsy should have happened at the hospital in Dallas, where Kennedy was rushed to immediately after the shooting. A preliminary examination was done in Dallas, but the body was then rushed illegally by Kennedy's staff to Washington, D.C., where a full autopsy conducted by a pathologist who had virtually no evidence in gunshot wounds, and for some reason, the doctor burnt his autopsy report 2 days after the operation. The Dallas doctors initially told reporters that the wound in Kennedy's neck was a wound of entry, meaning a bullet would have had to have come from the front. Of course, the Washington doctors disagreed. The Warren Commission asked Dallas doctors whether they could have been wrong about the wound in the neck being an entry wound, to which most of them then concluded that they had been wrong.
Oh yeah, we were wrong, and we've lost all our files.
Yep, and in each autopsy, it was also reported that there was a conflicting distance of 4 inches as to where the bullets punctured Kennedy's body also. Sorry, Ben.
Yeah. As soon as things go, like evidence or reports have gone missing, you know that there's fuckery involved.
Right, exactly. Because one of the major points that Donahue wanted to examine would have been Kennedy's brain. And as well as other key matter that should have been preserved, in fact, disappeared after the autopsy. It was discovered in 1972 after coroner and Warren Commission critic Cyril Wecht filed a request and was granted permission to see the autopsy materials. He was able to access the x-rays and autopsy photos. The physical evidence wasn't there where it was supposed to be and has never been seen since.
Oh,
yeah.
just on the autopsy, I read an interesting article about the autopsy photographs because they got released obviously quite quickly, I think, in terms of in the circuits of things.
Yes.
And they were saying that if that bullet had have gone into it, because a lot of people said it went into his brain and immediately causes that much pressure that it explodes your brain.
Right.
But it's almost like the autopsy photograph. It looks like they wanted to make people know that it was JFK to stop any aroused suspicion that it was anything else, because his eyes, you know, when you see like awful videos on like rotten.com and stuff, when people are being crashes or whatever, their eyes are always like really swollen and the face is like super like bloodshot. It literally just looks like a dummy. And the back of his head is a fucking mess. But the front of him just looked like, if you were to just cover up that back bit, it just looked like he's had a heavy night on the Jameson. You know, like, he doesn't look bad. I mean,
right.
And they were saying, I remember seeing one of the ballistic guys and they shot into one of them dummies. And it showed you as soon as the bullet slows down, it almost creates like a vacuum. And it literally just like obliterates your head. And it would put all that pressure in your eyes because that's your only exit wound if it doesn't go through. And the photograph does it. Literally, he looks fine. Like I said, it just looks a bit hungover.
Looks a bit hungover.
Yeah. So it's weird that those leaked really quite quickly.
And they're grim, aren't they? Like,
oh yeah,
it's like the egg from Alien, almost like opening up from the top and what you can see inside.
Well, the front of his face is fine.
Right. Yeah. Donohue's analysis supports the magic bullet theory and that one bullet had the possibility of causing both men's wounds. The bullet, almost like magic, was practically undamaged. However, Donohue says the warping of the bullet is evidence of something that kind of trajectory would produce. The bullet was also, as I mentioned a moment ago, a full metal jacket that is a coating that limits the damage the bullet can make on impact. So, like as JJ was saying, an uncoated bullet, a hollow point would obviously cause what looked like an explosion, or the exit wound would be ferocious, or even the impact wound, depending on how close. So Garrison believed he may well have. Sorry. Ooh, I'm getting a bit ahead of myself there. Sorry. However, the second bullet, unlike the first, produces a massive wound, as I was just mentioning, on impact, blasting a part of Kennedy's head off. Which Jackie, if you watch the Zapruder movie, when Jackie's crawling on the back,
I can't watch it.
Yeah, where she's trying to scoop it all back up like a hungry hippo.
I mean, he's dead on impact, and
that's like immensely brown bread. You ain't putting that back together.
The most disturbing part for me is where they hit him in the throat first, because he's almost what's going on, and then he's leaned forward, and then he's like,
I can't breathe.
There's
and then
another
he turns to her, doesn't
theory,
he?
Isn't there? But
he's like,
how his head fires backwards, but
anyway, the bullets produce conflicting entry and exit holes, with the second seemingly exploding on impact and the magic bullet seemingly intact. Only shards of the head wound bullet were found, some in Kennedy's body and on the car. Donohue wanted to analyse the bullet shards to find out what gun they could have come from, but the shards, like Kennedy's brain, had also disappeared and never been seen again. There are shards in the National Archives, but apparently those shards don't measure alongside the weights and recordings by the apparent FBI tests. And this report was also missing from the Warren report, the initial one, because obviously it all got burnt by the FBI.
Yeah.
Donohue believes the head wound produced on the second... am I not getting that? No, I am. No, I'm fine. Yeah. Donohue believes the head wound produced on the second shot couldn't have possibly come from Oswald's gun, and disagrees that the second shot came from the front by a shooter on the grassy knoll. His investigation points towards a bullet coming from the Secret Service car behind John F. Kennedy's car and from an AR-15 assault rifle. He came to this conclusion from analysing the testimonies of all men in the car and determined that the Secret Service agent George Hickey had done so by mistake. Hickey reacted to the gunfire on the president by jumping up and on top of his car he was in and accidentally fired off one round during the moment of madness. And he was the one and only agent on top with a gun in his hand, according to everybody's testimony?
I've just watched the Zapruder film, and
You did, yeah.
I've just watched it. I've always avoided watching it because I hate that shit, and I've just watched it. It's crazy, and also it's so long. Like you think from the it's like,
yeah, it's the longest 6 seconds
to that
ever.
Like
that's like the longest 6 seconds ever.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And when they talk about how like, oh, those shots happened within 6 seconds, all three, and you sit there and think to yourself, 3 seconds in 6 shots in 3 seconds, that's pretty damn quick. But then you watch that video clip and you see the initial first impact. Feels like it lasts a lifetime.
Yeah. I genuinely think that this is the most plausible, because the whole thing is coincidence and mistakes and things happening. Like,
yes,
do you know that they would forecast for rain, and they were going to put him in a closed top car?
They were, really, and it just suddenly was an incredibly bright day.
As the plane landed at Love Field, I think it was. Yeah. The sun came out.
The rain stopped. Oh,
the sun came out.
It's almost like nature itself is pushing history in that way.
Like Oswald wouldn't have carried out these shootings, his part in the shootings, if they weren't going past the book repository. He wouldn't have done it. If it wasn't going past, he wouldn't have felt the urge to do it. He was put there, he was either put there or it just happened to be, I think.
Yeah. And as well, there was a famous testimony from a guy that was stood on top of the bridge, the railway bridge, that I deliberately went there because that was where one guy said, I smelt gunpowder. Like when the car went underneath, he's like, I could smell ammunition. I could smell gunpowder. Yeah. And that's only testament again to George Hickey slipping on the car, letting a shot off. Because that was like 3 seconds before they then get to the bridge and underneath. So there's going to be residue still coming from the gun itself.
It felt the drive went on too long for that to feel like that shot with that much power
was being executed like
from there. Because all well and good that one, and the impact was completely different from the same gun.
Exactly, yeah. It was like it wasn't, and if it was Oswald that someone had that had made that shot, then the bullet was completely different. That's the only way that shot could have Oswald.
And he only had 4 bullets.
Right? Yeah. No, I would. So far, this has been the most legitimate and the most plausible. Yeah. As well
because of the difference in the explosions.
And I believe that it's a difference in investigative journalism in itself, or like a ballistics expert taking out the idea of any foreign intervention, any inside job. An inside job in the end having to do so, but the mistake itself occurring like by mistake. And that there's nothing else influencing his conclusion. It's just specifics. That's what I think's more intriguing about it, because there's not a lot. If you read the book Mortal Error, it of course goes into further details on why this theory makes so much sense. Like there's mathematics when it comes to like bullet trajectory that's reported and stuff like that. It's an immensely plausible case, but I like it more as well because the only reason an inside job can be reported is because if all of his findings are possible, then the reason it isn't known about is because the CIA, Secret Services, and the FBI are covering it up because someone made a mistake and they couldn't live with Service, or just the Secret Service, because they don't want a random mistake like that being the reason the president's dead. They would rather, what's that? They're all talking, we've got this guy up here that we had planted because he's a CIA. We know, this dude, we were aware of this dude being a nuisance. Let's just let him take the flak, essentially. What convenience.
Yeah.
It's almost like an odd coincidence.
Where he's gone. He can still hear us though, so that's nice that he knows that I've told everyone.
It's like a completely odd coincidence where maybe, just maybe, the intelligence services are like, we're aware of this guy Oswald that's planning on killing him, but don't worry, we've got a few other people listed up. And then that mistake happens, and it's like, all right, cool. Now we've got two patsies on on our hands. We've got Oswald and this guy that's actually just randomly killed. What a coincidence!
I just think it's like, what amazes, what I can't really get my head around is that is Oswald just a lone nut that then
happened to be in the wrong place at the right time,
and that he's a lone nut that then the Secret Service accidentally fucking kills the president when he just because like the throat wound, he's probably living.
Right. He's you never know. Yeah.
Shot one.
Yeah.
He's living from that. He probably won't ever talk again, but he's living from that.
Right.
And then the Secret Service blows off his.
Well, it's interesting.
The explosions of the bullets are completely different.
Yeah, they're completely different.
And
that's why Donahue was saying that if you had the brain and the report and the findings before the brain extraction, and we would be able to conclude where the bullet came from and what bullet it was, so we could then determine what gun it was. But that's all been removed, and nobody knows where it is. So that tells me that there's fuckery involved.
I thought they'd already like debunked the bullet theory, because it was the reason why the one in the head exploded was because it was going at a velocity and then it hit matter, so it exploded. Whereas in the other one, transversed through something, and because it transversed through something, it slowed down, so it wouldn't have had much of an impact when it hit its next destination. I thought that was already debunked. Yeah, so the ballistics expert guys were saying, well, the reason why the other one didn't explode was because it went through his neck, which slowed down the bullet.
Oh yeah, sorry, the magic bullet one as right, I understand. So there's another ballistics expert's theory on it.
Yeah, I watched it on it was on like one of those TV shows where they show you shooting like those jelly things, and it even shows you like if it went through the neck, it's all soft tissue, so it wouldn't have done anything. Whereas when it goes into the brain, you're first hitting hard tissue, then it's hitting soft tissue, but it creates a vacuum. That's what. But it didn't come out the other side, so it literally just exploded. Whereas in the other one, went through his neck, which slowed the bullet down, and then it went into the other guy's body, which caused broke his
Governor
wrist.
Connolly,
ribs and wrist, because he had his hand on his side,
and he was because he was sitting slightly lower down in those fold-out seats, wasn't he? So that's why it went. Yeah.
But so far this one feels like, I don't know, one of the most plausible. With Donahue's investigations, and I've read Mortal Error, like it convinces me a hell of a lot. But on to our third and final one, unfortunately, everybody.
Our last one. Yeah.
Do you want to go ahead with it, or?
Well, this is the most famous one that was made famous by the Oliver Stone film, right?
And you've just watched that, haven't you?
I watched some of it and then I kind of switched it. But there's the best bit, and I'm glad I saw this bit, is when he kind of puts it all together. Old Kevin Costner's character.
Is this what I have to remind you of?
No. This is actually Jim Garrison did that bit. So there's a bit when he's kind of going through his papers, and his wife comes in. She goes, "Why did you come to bed, dear?" She goes, "I've been asleep for 3 years."
I've been a what?
I've been asleep for 3 years.
For 3 years.
Because he's been investigating the thing for 3 years.
Oh,
and she goes, well, and he's just worked it out. Like he's put all the red things together, and he goes, "I've been asleep for 3 years." Like that is it's like so cheesy.
I've opened my eyes.
"Why don't you come to bed, honey?" "I've been asleep for 3 years." Amazing. It's so good. I had to turn it off because obviously once you've read into,
because it's 4 hours long.
Yeah. But once 3.5 hours long, isn't it?
Once you've done research into it and you've listened to podcasts and you start watching the Jim Garrison film, and you're like, this is all fucking been debunked. Like all of it's been debunked. Like you go through the whole thing and pretty much all of it's been debunked. There's a few bits there's the in New Orleans, there's the house that has 3 entries that that's one place, but it has 3 entries on different streets.
Yeah.
So that's like the fair play for Cuba stuff was that's where
They were situated.
Well, no, they weren't. That's where Oswald was saying they were to wind up Guy Bannister and all the other David Ferry and all the other blokes.
Oh, okay. We're going to get to know them in a moment as well.
Yeah. So I'll let you read it, and then I'll slip
interject.
I'll interject when I get to say what Jim Garrison truly believed.
Okay. So
involved in the plot to kill.
Our third conspiracy: JFK was assassinated by a right-wing conspiracy. The CIA had Kennedy killed with the help from the FBI, the mob, anti-Castro groups, and the military-industrial complex. Okay, Jim Garrison believed that members of the CIA, FBI, and Secret Service, the military-industrial complex, and anti-Christian, anti-Castro Cubans with the New Orleans mob (brackets Jack Ruby and Oswald himself as their pawns) had JFK killed to get the less progressive, more pro-war Lyndon B. Long Dick Johnson into the White House.
He got a big old dick!
And to stop the withdrawal of American troops in Vietnam. On February 7th, New Orleans received news that New Orleans received news that its DA, Jim Garrison, was launching a criminal investigation into a conspiracy behind the assassination of John F. Kennedy. His suspect was David Ferry. Okay, David Ferry, Ben, I've got some bits on him, but...
David Ferry had alopecia.
Oh.
And he's played by Joe... He's played by Joe Pesci in
of course he is, with the wig and shit. Yeah.
Right, do you know about... Have you got the stuff about David Ferry knowing Oswald?
Yeah, so what I've got...
Because there's a picture of them at a barbecue together, isn't there?
Yeah, I've got... He was... David Ferry was a pilot, possible mobster, and a key link in Jim Garrison's case that focused around JFK's body. 4 days later, after Garrison's investigation had been made public, that he was looking at investigating these links, David Ferry was found dead. Exit planned.
Always going to happen, man.
Got squid gamed.
You're going to get killed if you're involved in these kind of things.
Right, yeah. Ben, did you want to interject with what?
No, not yet.
No, okay.
I need you to mention. So Clay Shaw, Perry Russo claimed to have been at a party. Right, okay. So the Perry Russo bit. That's when we'll get into it.
Right, okay. So yeah, David Ferry was a rather elusive figure who had connections with the mob, anti-Castro Cubans, and the CIA. He was also Oswald's civil air control commander in New Orleans. And maybe a hasty and suspicious trip to Texas immediately. Oh, I've missed a huge chunk out about that. Sorry. He was also Oswald's civil air control commander in New Orleans and made a hasty and suspicious trip to Texas immediately after the assassination. He claimed, the day after, almost within probably 24 hours. He claimed it was the intention of checking out an ice rink as he was considering opening one in New Orleans. Can I just say, that's one of the shittiest excuses I've ever heard.
But Joe Pesci plays him so well in the film.
Oh, yeah, he really does. What were you doing here? I want to open an ice rink. So you flew to Texas. Yep. Okay, gotcha. It's suspected that Ferry was in fact intending to fly there as Oswald's getaway pilot. The coroner report on David Ferry reports that he died of natural causes, a brain hemorrhage. However, a suicide note was found in his apartment that suggested otherwise. And I quote, most poetic suicide note I think I've ever read. To leave this life, to me, is a sweet prospect. I find nothing in it that is desirable, and on the other hand, everything that is loathsome. Garrison believed he may well have taken his own life, knowing that of the impending case, or perhaps knowingly that his life was in danger from others. That would kind of make sense for him to top himself if he knew someone had caught a lead on him, and either he gets killed by his co-conspirators, or he knows he's going to either get jailed for, I don't know, an immense amount of time and be responsible for Kennedy's death. So the idea of him killing himself sounds plausible, or at least something that someone would maybe consider. With Ferry dead, though, Garrison's case now led to a guy called Clay Shaw. He was a successful New Orleans businessman who claims he co-conspired in the assassination plot with Ferry, Oswald, and Guy Bannister, who died of a heart attack a year after the assassination. Bannister, go on.
So Clay Shaw was a homosexual as well. Homosexual. But so Jim Garrison believes that the assassination of John F. Kennedy was a homosexual thrill killing. He believed that believed that they were all a group of angry homosexuals who decided to kill JFK because obviously he was heterosexual. He was wildly heterosexual. He liked to shag the women, this was a homosexual thrill killing. That's just, he said that journalist James Feeney said Garrison told him that the assassination was a homosexual thrill killing. As Garrison continued his investigation, he became convinced that a group of right-wing activists, which he believed included David Ferry, Guy Bannister, and Clay Shaw, director of the International Trade Mart in New Orleans, were involved in conspiracy with elements of the Central Intelligence Agency to kill President Kennedy. Garrison would later say that the motive for the assassination was anger over Kennedy's foreign policy, especially Kennedy's efforts in find a political rather than military solution in Canada. Right? Where's the bit where it goes into the thrill killing bit? I can't find the bit, but yeah, he did call it a homosexual thrill killing.
Anyway, well, my notes that I've got continue on with Garrison claimed both.
Here we go. Sorry. Yeah, can I read this?
Go on.
Right. In an effort to get Garrison's story into focus, I asked him to motive of Kennedy's conspiracy. He told me the murder at Dallas had been a homosexual plot. They had the same motive as Loeb and Leopold when they murdered Bobby Franks in Chicago back in the 1920s, Garrison said. It was a homosexual thrill killing, plus the excitement of getting away with a perfect crime. John Kennedy was everything that Dave Ferry was not. A successful, handsome, popular, wealthy, virile man. You can just picture the charge Ferry got out of plotting his death. I asked how he learned that this murder was a homosexual plot. Look at the people involved, Garrison said. David Ferry, homosexual. Clay Shaw, homosexual. Jack Ruby, homosexual. Ruby was a homosexual. Sure, we dug that out, Garrison said. His homosexual nickname was Pinky. That's 3. Then there was Lee Harvey Oswald. But Oswald was married and had 2 children, I pointed out. A switch hitter who could satisfy his wife.
I feel like this is a fan fiction that's just got out of hand.
Isn't it? Yeah. A switch hitter who couldn't satisfy his wife, Garrison said. That's all in the Warren report. He named 2 more key figures who him labeled homosexual. The 6 homosexuals in the plot, Garrison said. 1 or maybe 2. Okay, but all 6 homosexuals? How far can you stretch the arm of coincidence? I told him that it's intriguing theory, but it wasn't evidence he could present in the court. Brilliant.
Fucking hell.
It's
Jesus
just a
Christ.
wild
Case closed. I won't read on further. Case closed. I'm done. Get me off this planet.
It's absolutely brilliant, isn't it?
Okay, Bannister was a former FBI agent tied to the intelligence community and part of a New Orleans group supplying arms to anti-Castro forces in Cuba. Ferry and Bannister were associates and very easy to connect, and thus meaning Oswald can also be intertwined, seeing as Ferry was his air patrol commander. But with Ferry and Bannister dead, there needs to be a connection made between Clay Shaw and Oswald. They're both gay. No. In actual fact, Garrison claimed both can be linked to a phone call that Shaw made to a lawyer the day after the assassination, asking him to represent Oswald. The lawyer originally testified to this call happening, but later denied it happened and instead made by a man called Clay Bertrand. However, which Clay Bertrand was an apparent alias that Clay Shaw would use in the New Orleans French Quarter. A little bit suspicious. Little bit of a shady dude there. Anyway, okay, here we go. A man named Perry Russo claimed to have been at a party where Oswald, Shaw, and Ferry were all present and openly discussed explicitly of a plan to assassinate John F. Kennedy through a ploy of crossfire in Dallas. Crossfire. This confession, however, allegedly came from an event of hypnosis using a drug called sodium pentothal, which is commonly named truth serum. Garrison claimed Russo gave this key information before any type of hypnosis method was invoked. I was kind of going along with this idea and thought, this sounds like it has some legs to it. And then I found that out, and I was like, what a load of horse shit.
Yeah, this whole Garrison thing's just like, it's
so
like, I was asleep for 3 years.
He was at a party. He dreamt that, well, he hypnotically admitted to being at a party where all three of these were, where they were openly discussing.
Yeah, but apparently they were painted gold as well. They're all naked and painted gold in the full like
testimony
in that full hypnosis thing. Yeah, from what I remember.
Homosexual parties.
Yeah, I was going to say, what are you?
All of it is just like anti-gay kind of.
He's just in the closet. He's clearly in the closet.
Yeah, I'll try and find
clearly in the closet.
I'll try and find the while you read on. I'll try and find the Russo transcript.
The transcript, yeah. Apparently, their motive was due to JFK's foreign policy. The men involved all had strong right-wing anti-Castro sentiment. Garrison claimed, and they were concerned over JFK's diplomatic approach over military intervention when dealing with Cuba. Bannister and his associate Ferry's supposed arm dealing with anti-Castro forces within Cuba gives the connection some weight, in the sense of that they're part of the military-industrial complex. So the idea of them potentially ploying Kennedy's assassination would make sense, because he wanted to pull everybody out of Vietnam, which of course is going to piss the military-industrial complex up. Piss them off a lot, considering a lot of them were all part of his government in the first place. I've lost where I was now. I do apologise. Here we go. Financial and ideological forces were at stake, and Garrison claimed Shaw was connected to the CIA, which he couldn't prove in his initial investigation. However, 10 years later, though, CIA Director Richard Helms confirmed that Shaw had in fact been a part-time informant for the FBI. He would provide information through his travels of Latin America and as a businessman, suggesting he had also anti-communism traits. So he was an insider. One of them was, at least. We've got one link to the military-industrial complex, as well as being a part-time insider for the CIA. Jack Ruby also may have had connections to the mob and anti-Castro Cubans, which would have invoked Jack Ruby into the conspiracy by extension, and in turn needing to kill Oswald before he could implicate all of their involvement. So that's one reason Ruby could be involved in killing Lee Harvey Oswald, simply for the fact to just put a rest to him and stop him actually, I don't know, spilling the beans if he wasn't to be shot. So that would make sense.
Yeah.
Are you still looking for that?
I can't find it, yeah.
You can't find it anywhere, no?
No, I might have made it up.
It was a fever dream, mate. I do apologise. Yeah. They weren't homosexuals.
Yeah, but the Garrison homosexual thrill killing bit is hilarious to me.
When I read
it, I was like, this man is just like all his work is just completely gone now for me. I don't any of his.
Because it's that embarrassing.
It's just like, it feels like, yeah. Because these guys only come up in this part
of the conspiracy. They're not mentioned anywhere else.
Any other theory.
Not even when Oswald went to Mexico. Although Clay was known to have been in Latin America as an insider for the CIA and an informant, yet they found no connection of him possibly being in Mexico and meeting up with him, you know. We're going to go back to your boy Oswald here. There is some evidence that pointed towards Oswald possibly being an undercover agent for the CIA. He was barely punished for his open communist leaning while in the Marines. His high-level security clearance was never revoked, and received training in the Russian language. And this could mean he was orchestrating his communist conversion at the behest of the CIA. He then defected to the USSR on an he possibly then defected to the USSR on an undercover mission for the CIA. I mean, do you think that's a possibility?
I definitely think that there could be more to Oswald than meets the eye. but at the same time, he's such a pain in the ass, by all accounts, that who would want to work with him?
Right. To me, he sounds like too much of a loose cannon for the CIA to be able to control.
Is it that hiding like they go
in plain sight?
Like we're saying now, he's too much of a loose cannon to be an asset. But look at the people that are assets. Like you're always like assets are people that are there to kind of
the likes of Clay Shaw. Oh, he's a very successful businessman that travels across Latin America.
Yeah.
That has no trouble.
Like Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein.
Right, yeah.
Assets.
Yeah.
Well,
one
of them didn't kill himself, but he's not alive anymore.
Right. We need to get that shirt design sorted, definitely.
It's coming out. It'll be out. Along with all the other merch you can buy. Buythatmerch.com. .co.uk, sorry. Buythatmerch.co.uk.
As well as OG socks. No action was taken. NAC. No action was actually taken against Oswald when he told the US Embassy he was going to be handing over military secrets to the Soviets, which would make sense, again, if he was actually acting as acting on behest of the CIA. He could cause a ruckus and know that nothing's going to happen to me because I'm being paid by them and they're going to protect me no matter what.
That's the thing. Like he was, there was no punishment, which can go either way. Really, it could be like, we don't give a fuck about this guy. He's a nobody. Yeah. Or let him do what he's got to do. This is all part of the program.
Yeah, this is all part of the program. Let's let him possibly.
It's a tough one.
Get to the position of murdering JFK.
It is a tough one. Was he an asset? Because they knew about him. They definitely knew about him. They denied knowing about him, but it turns out they did know about him. They had a lot of notes on him. So it's a tough one when it comes to Oswald.
And what's interesting again with Oswald is you mentioned them earlier about George de Mornay and how he was a local CIA agent for Dallas. He was on the CIA's payroll, and he was also connected with industrial elites and people that were part of the military-industrial complex. And he just so happened to become Oswald's best friend.
Yeah, well, they said that he was his handler.
Oh, is that what they believe?
Might be his handler. But there's another one. There's a Jim,
which would
John
make so
something.
much sense.
There's another. There's another one that could have been Oswald's handler.
But that would make sense as well. And
yeah,
it's just
it was George de Mornay was his handler. Yeah, and then JD Tippett was another one that could have been his handler as well.
It just makes so much sense that
no, he was the one who was killed in JD Tippett.
When when Oswald would arrive back from the USSR to the United States, and where he would be plotted is a guy, his neighbor. Well, he was his neighbor, wasn't he? He lived below him, I think it was. He just so happened to be a right-winger, an industrial elitist, and also was a CIA informant. Too many coincidences with that, like, without a doubt. And I think in the TV show and in the book of 11/22/63, I believe Stephen King leans towards de Mornay being an informant and having his room tapped, essentially. I don't know whether that was ever confirmed, but I know it was theory.
Well, yeah, apparently there are recordings of them talking. So, yeah, there was a few. Yeah, that killing Oswald, there was some, I think there was some recordings in that. But the Morning Shide's in that.
Right, okay.
And he's talking about him as an asset. But there was another guy who was like quite possibly another handler for what's from flip? Oswald.
What's interesting as well is, although Garrison has managed to link all of these four people up that would have incentive and a motive to kill Kennedy, he was never able to kind of put them in place. Like, he was never able to be like, so where were they situated? I think one he tried to claim was inside a bloody manhole. Like, as absurd as that sounds, like a drain area, like on Dealey Plaza. And also, and someone else on the grassy knoll. But that was just, I can't actually prove that. But these people, I believe, were involved. But yet he can't pinpoint them as gunmen, other than Oswald, which you can loosely.
Yeah, but another thing that I've seen noticed is that de Morgan's child, his wife was the woman that got Oswald the job.
The book School Book Depository. Another absurd coincidence. A CIA agent, and he just so happens to find a very good vantage point to possibly assassinate a president.
A month before.
And that literally brings a close to the 3 conspiracies that we have listed. Again, we mentioned there's 2,000 books that have been written. Yeah. There are countless
JJ,
conspiracies.
I need you to go for your Lincoln
oh, of course.
One, man. Because I've read it now and it is absolutely hilarious. But it's also it is bizarre how many, but it's just that first one that kind of just went, oh, okay.
I've actually lost it. I deleted it because I figured we wouldn't go there.
We're going there. Let me find it.
Hang on.
I think you put it in the
I've got that. Yeah.
It's the first thing you sent tonight, 2 hours ago. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I've been digging, and there's so many good ones to do with Marilyn Monroe and JFK, but maybe another time. I mean, the list is endless. Lincoln and Kennedy each have 7 letters in their name.
That's the best one. And that's it.
But both presidents were elected to Congress in 46 and later to be presidency in 60.
Yeah.
Both married women in their 20s while themselves were in their 30s.
Jesus Christ, the stretch.
I did that. I married a woman in her 20s when I was in my 30s.
So you have a link there.
Yeah. And wait, BENMILS.
Ben did it.
Ben Mills.
Your ancestor did it, mate. Granddad.
Hang on, Ben. You've missed an L out of your name there.
BENMILLS.
All right. You didn't do it. I believe you.
Both lost a son while living in the White House. Both lost a child prior to the presidency. Both were shot in the presence of their wives. Both assassins, John Wilkes Booth and Lee Harvey Oswald, were born in 1939 and were known by then.
No, they weren't. Lee Harvey Oswald was never known as Lee Harvey Oswald. He was always Lee or Lee Oswald. They only started calling him Lee Harvey Oswald once after the assassination.
Wikipedia doesn't lie, Ben. So shush.
Sorry, I forgot Wikipedia is the truth.
I'm going to skip through most of them. I think this one is my favorite. Lincoln was shot at the Ford's Theater.
Yeah.
Kennedy was shot in a Ford car.
Oh God.
A Lincoln limousine.
Yes.
Oh, dun, dun, dun.
That's it. And that is the real theory. That I don't. But what is it? Just
it was the Ford car company that did it.
Yeah. So what I know. The coincidences are amazing.
That's hilarious.
What is There's no theory there, though, is there?
No.
It might be magic.
It's
like
magic.
With a K. It's magic with a K.
Do you know what it isn't? What I have been looking for, because I always like to look for the magical rituals in these things. I don't think this one has got a magical ritual link to it because it was pre-Satanic Panic.
That sucks.
It sucks. But Satanic
I was hoping
Panic
there was
back,
something
though,
like
which is good.
I mean, this is a good comparison. They were both shot on a Friday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Both Oswald and Booth were assassinated before they could be put on trial.
I mean, I think the two biggest links I see is that they were both part of the same political party and they were both shot by people who would be considered oppositions of the political party that they were shot by.
And they both had 7 letters in their name.
Yeah. So, I mean, that must be it. Don't be a president.
False assumptions. Although President Kennedy did have a female secretary named Evelyn Lincoln, there is no record that President Lincoln had a secretary named Kennedy.
Well, hang on a second. It says Oswald fled from the Texas School Book Depository, which is a warehouse where Oswald worked and from where he shot Kennedy and was arrested in a movie theater. That's a false assumption.
No, that is real.
It says a false assumption here.
But Booth did run from the Ford Theater where he shot Lincoln.
Yeah, I
he
heard
was caught in a barn in Virginia, not a warehouse. Oswald fled from the Texas School Book Depository, which was a warehouse where Oswald worked, and from where he had shot Kennedy and was arrested in a movie theater.
It's bad because it's under 2 bullet points. It should have been 1 bullet point.
That is quite creepy though, as well.
Yeah, because he ran
Oswald
from
got
a
arrested
theater and was caught in a warehouse, and he ran from a warehouse and was caught in a theater.
Caught in a theater. Yeah, that's quite spooky.
Hmm.
Why?
Yeah,
why
that's my
Caught in a
input on
barn.
it.
Born in a barn. But
It's
yeah,
called a
that
barn.
brings a close, gentlemen. So,
Well,
Which-
just a short one. If anyone is interested in the link between Marilyn Monroe, she was assassinated after JFK told her UFO secrets, claims that a bombshell book.
yeah, I remember
Um,
hearing that one.
And
I
there
think
is
she
there
was
is a historical meeting of her and Robert Kennedy where he drugged her. FYI, so
He was banging her as well, wasn't he? They were both banging her.
Oh yeah.
he was known for doing a bit of date raping.
Was he?
Ooh.
Yeah,
But he was such a nice bloke, and he all cared about civil rights and stuff.
yeah, but he got shot as well, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not
Don't
a
be
good
a
track
Kennedy.
record, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't be a president.
Arnold
Don't be a Kennedy.
You know, Arnold Schwarzenegger married into the Kennedy.
Married a
family.
Kennedy. Bloody smart move that.
Yeah,
Also-
and then he became a governor, and he's got over 7 letters in his name.
One of the Kennedy's sister is in a mental asylum, and they just shushed. They just shushed it off as if it was.
There's a really good podcast called the many lobotomies of so Kennedy. I can't remember her name, Mary Kennedy or whatever. And they talk about it. They just thought she was a nutter, and they lobotomized
Shipped her
her
off.
over and over again. Poor woman.
Yeah, she
Poor
knew.
woman.
Bashing her over the head with a bloody metal
So-
rod for years.
I guess we're at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
I think we've all learned something. What, JJ? I'm going to come to you first. What do you think the truth of the what do you think really happened on that day or leading up to the death of Kennedy and the death of Kennedy? What do you think happened?
I'm still not sure. I think it was a massive inside job, but I don't think it was the guy in the front, because there's obviously, I guess you talked about that, because there was the idea that someone shot him, the drunk CIA agent. We spoke about that with the second one. It wouldn't make sense to me, because why would Lee Harvey Oswald be there? That's just it. It's like he was going to kill him.
It's an
but then
odd
the other
coincidence.
I just genuinely think it was probably somebody else, not Lee Harvey Oswald.
You believe someone else took the final shot, but wasn't?
No, I don't believe Lee Harvey Oswald was even involved. I don't believe he took any shots. But
oh wow,
yeah. If I didn't believe that, if I did, see, I'm so torn as well, because I really think that the Secret Service one it just seems like that could be what happened, because it's so stupid. And
I mean, we haven't even talked about the MK Ultra conspiracy that he did actually kill him, but he was because he can't, in his interviews, he can't remember doing anything.
Well,
He said he couldn't remember doing anything.
There's so many conspiracies linked with, inside the killing of JFK, because we didn't even touch on one of the most recent famous ones, which was Badgeman, which they believe the woman that took the photograph where you can see like the millisecond his head exploded.
Yeah.
You can apparently see
Polaroid,
someone with a muzzle flash where the grassy knoll is.
Yeah.
Like, and
that's through the fence, isn't it?
Yeah.
Someone shot him through the fence. That's
where the grassy knoll is. In the Discord, I'll leave my Facebook profile link that's got the album, so you can look for all those particular
imagine
pictures.
taking a picture at the moment.
Right. Yeah. So we didn't even touch on that.
But I mean, there's a high probability that there'll have been thousands of people or hundreds of people taking photos, and one of them would have been at that very moment. I mean, the idea that the video, I can't remember the name. What's the guy called?
Zapruder.
Yeah.
Zapruder.
So there's more videos, but they've been destroyed.
Yeah.
They were destroyed on the day.
There's so many. The MK Ultra one, if anything, if Lee Harvey Oswald did it, I believe that was probably a thing.
Yeah.
Because he was a serviceman anyway. I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen the film Jacob's Ladder.
No.
Yeah, Jacob's Ladder sort of references that era of the military service and talks about all the crazy shit, and also the Manchurian Candidate. I mean, films like these are implying that people are in the services are under mind control. Like, yes, all right, it is fantasy or fiction, but it's
They are
based on something.
brainwashed.
Well, yeah. I mean, that to that extent. But I mean, Manchurian Candidate and Jacob's Ladder, two brilliant films if you want to have a look at the way that they dealt with the military in the mid to early to mid 20th century.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at the Badgeman picture now, and it's still just, you can't see anything. It's
No,
insane.
it's a reach.
To say that there's someone in that picture, that you're insane. There's nothing.
It's a reach. Yeah, it's a humongous reach.
But there was witness reports of a man, dressed
300
dressed in
people.
Secret Service outfit, telling people to stop filming. But it was then reported that there was no Secret Service on the ground. They were all in the motorcade.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of things, a lot of dodgy shit going around on the day, and that's where Badgeman comes in, I think.
Yeah, it's very, it's such a reach of a photograph as well, and claim. But where I stand on it, I do think there is some CIA meddling going on. Like there's definitely there's too many people that aren't happy with Kennedy's decisions, and too many people in his office that it would impact. And we already know that they were willing to kill fellow US citizens by wanting to produce Operation Northwoods, which Kennedy, of course, sat there and said, no, we ain't doing that. We aren't launching attacks on US civilians as a reason to get back in to go to war to Cuba. I'm not doing that. So if they were willing to kill their own citizens, I'm pretty sure that a lot of these people that were inside the government, the CIA, Secret Service, and the FBI were more than capable of executing something that would result in us talking about it right now.
I mean, just
I
look
would
at
not put it past any of them.
Look at 9/11. We said that about that. Like,
It's Operation Northwoods.
2,000 people, and like, what's that when they've gained billions of dollars?
Yeah,
in
exactly.
things.
And more control of the rest of other areas in the Middle East.
Plus, we always think about things as such a short-term gains. Like, they couldn't possibly do that at like what knock-on effect, but they're looking at things hundreds of years in advance.
Well,
they're not
what
like,
yes.
The Vietnam War, like, and then obviously the Cold War obviously continued, the Vietnam War, and then on into Iraq, Desert Storm, all that crap. It fueled the military industrial complex.
Yeah.
And it stopped it being dismantled. And since then, no one has tried. Like, they know that something, there must be like a thing. And you go and they go, like, you get your presidency and you're like, don't try and fuck with us because we will kill you. There must be, it seems like no, because everyone goes in with good intentions and they go, they probably just go, here's a picture of Robert Kennedy and John Kennedy. These had good intentions. Look at their heads.
Most likely. I wouldn't put it past these people because they run the world in certain aspects and in certain
CIA especially.
Yeah, do you know what I mean?
They just run around the world just doing dodgy shit.
I feel like
dodgy fucking shit.
I feel like there is a possibility that there is a second shooter. I do believe that, and considering that around 300 people testified that they had heard a gunshot or seen something come from the grassy knoll. I don't know whether that was mainly due to panic. One person said, and then like herd mentality. Oh yeah, something over there. Like,
yeah.
But there was like 300 plus people testified like we heard a shot coming from that direction.
Yeah.
Has anyone considered that the second shooter could have been Jack Ruby?
Jack Ruby.
Ruby, yeah.
No, well, probably.
Because he's like, don't grass me up.
Well, exactly. That's why.
I don't know if that is even a thing. I don't know.
It is. Well, yeah, it is. It was in the. He was being linked by the Garrison guy, DA Garrison, in trying to link Clay Shaw. Who were the other people? Ben, off the top of my head.
The homosexual guy.
The homosexual thrill killers.
Yeah, the YMs, the what are they called? Village people. Of the
but
JFK
it could have been
shooting.
because as well. Ferry may well have flown to Texas to be Oswald's getaway driver, because if that was the case that Ruby was a shooter, the idea was that Oswald weren't to be captured. But because Oswald was captured,
Yeah.
He was only going to go and spill the beans.
Well, yeah, he
wasn't
was meant
So
to
someone
meet
had to kill him.
He was meant to meet his handler in the theater.
Yeah,
That was what
exactly.
was meant to happen, apparently. And then obviously he got caught instead.
And because Ruby probably isn't as prolific as and as controlling as these other guys, they're probably like, "You're next in line. You need to go and shut him up."
Yeah.
It would make total sense to me. That's why I'm siding with the idea that the CIA have created this particular event. Where the other shooter is, I will have no idea.
Did they kill Jack Ruby or did they arrest him?
No, he died
a couple of years after being put in prison.
by cancer or something, didn't he?
Hung himself.
Well, yeah, Epstein before it was cool.
That's
my belief. I believe that there is a CIA, FBI intervention and Secret Service intervention for the pro right wing and military industrial complex, and them just keeping all of their buddies in business, and pro Vietnam War, of course.
I think it comes down to pretty much the same fucking thing we come to with all these things. It's like
nonsense.
Someone trying to make money, someone's bank account was getting hurt, and they need to.
And it was oh god, he's going to cost us billions. Can't let that happen.
Yeah,
let's just kill him.
It's not doing very well though, is it? Like we're like as a world, we're like $3 trillion in debt.
Yeah.
There's that.
But to who? That's the question.
Well, yeah, to themselves and like just to buy guns.
Yeah.
Just gun
but
down.
To buy and sell them.
For the prices we make up as mankind.
Yeah.
Makes no sense.
It's all bullshit. That is another chat for another podcast. That's probably a stream chat.
But yeah,
that is just so fucking deep that when you get into that, it's like none of it really matters. And all this bullshit.
on this note, I want to propose two possibilities for the next podcast.
Oh,
okay.
He's getting it. He's getting ready.
So the first one, I want to do the moon landings.
Yep.
Or Elvis Presley.
Let's do Elvis first.
Yeah, because that sounds a bit weird.
And the moon
so many weird ones.
Going to be like
so many weird ones.
All right.
I didn't know there would have been a conspiracy
before Christmas, or do you want to do? Because I'm going to have loads of spare time over Christmas.
Possibly, before Christmas with me, because we finish work soon too. So that could be a good idea. Yeah, that could be the Christmas episode.
I mean, I can't imagine the Elvis one being in depth, but the moon landings one, probably.
Moon landing, I think we should
be fun.
Like, give it another 3 months of not doing anything, and then
yeah.
But yeah, I'd happily do Elvis next.
Yep, me too.
Bubba Hurtep.
Let's shout out all the people that are still on the Patreon. Like, I'm gonna get your names up now because you guys are fucking legends.
I'm so shocked.
Legends.
I mean, I never just checked that we still got people on the Patreon.
Yeah, this could be
might have all dropped out now. But and anyone who's bought the new merch from buythatmerch.co.uk,
heroes.
We put it up there, and I wasn't sure anyone was really was interested anymore. I know there's still people chatting in the Discord every day. The Discord amazes me every day.
It's on fire, man.
That's still happening. Currently we've got let's have a look. Our patrons are, and I'm going to give these guys a big shout out. Right, Michael Preda.
Hey.
Cryptid Ramblers podcast. Thanks,
guys. Boys.
Sarah Fitzpatrick Hines.
Woo.
Mike Ski.
Cheers, Ski.
D McCut.
We've got more Patreons now than we ever had when we were filming.
Again from
my friend Dustin.
Callum again from the Cryptid Ramblers, and Victoria Allenson.
Nice.
Sick.
Cheers,
so we've got 7 patrons, which is amazing because we've really
pretty much more than we've ever had.
Yeah, I think we've got 2 more. I think that was after the Titanic. We got a few more. Right. That means that we are gonna, obviously you patrons get this episode before everyone else.
Yep.
And I'm gonna talk to the guys that buy that merch to see if we can get the buy that merch, if we can get a promo code for Patreons.
Oh yeah, that would be cool. Yeah. That would be a good
Patreon
idea.
Page just to say thank you.
Yeah.
Like 10-20% off something just for a couple of weeks. But yeah, get over to the merch thing. We're gonna do. There's a few more designs going to be going up this week, which are the Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself one that I haven't designed yet, and JJ's no sweat design that I'm going to design.
I can't wait for that.
It was just my concept.
I want that I want that so bad.
Yeah, so we'll get them sorted up there.
Don't sweat it.
Don't sweat it. Is that it? It's no.
Yeah, don't sweat it.
Okay, sorry, I was doing no sweat. We'll do both.
Oh,
See who sells better.
I imagined like a Nike tick.
Yeah.
And then it don't sweat it, and then just that picture where he's on the back.
Yeah.
Just like
sweat. That's gonna be and that's the t-shirt.
Or maybe a Pizza Express logo with his face
we'll do a pizza. The pizza shirt could be no sweat. It could be the no sweat one.
No sweat.
That's a superb idea.
But yeah, we've got free.
You would hope if you were going to Pizza Express. You don't want that in your pizza, do you?
Yeah, and we'll do. I guess we'll have to do. Ghislaine Maxwell didn't kill herself as well.
Of course, when
she eventually kills herself by
Epstein.
6 gunshots to the front of the face.
six suicide gunshots to the back of the head.
Those classic 6 suicide gunshots.
Electrocuted by her own TV remote.
And I'm going to put this in here now, but I think a few people have been asking us to do a voice chat on Discord. We owe that to our fans. So I'm gonna say it now, so you guys can call me out in Discord when we don't do it, because we will do it, even if it's like one of us at a time. But we owe you that as well. But yeah, that's everything, I think.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you to OG Socks again.
We
got some pretty cool ones. Yeah, some fries, ice creams, and tacos.
I can't believe I waited so long to wear mine, but I'm glad I did because mine are fresher.
Yeah, I left mine in the packets for so long, and I went to Florida, and I literally opened fresh packets of socks when I got there.
It was amazing.
Oh, so good. Discount code NAC for those guys. Thanks,
we probably generated enough money for the free socks they've given us now, I think.
You say that. I don't know.
We should find out. And Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself.
He didn't indeed. See you later, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
That's what happens when it comes to it. In the thing.
Oh, maybe they did. So in the back, there is a
light brown jacket.
cool story.
Without the first, we definitely won't be the last. We'd like to welcome you